Chapter 670. Bad news kept coming in. The people in charge of scouting reported that the path back was blocked by rocks, and the road was filled with astral winds. Luchin frowned. That guy didn't want them to go back the way they came. If that's the case, we'll follow the original route. Fragrant Tea nodded. That's the only way now. But we can't farm monsters anymore. We have to pass through this place in the shortest time possible. The party resumed their journey and headed towards their destination. Along the way, they didn't encounter any encirclement. Even the number of monsters around them decreased significantly. According to the original plan, they would arrive at their destination by tomorrow morning. Luchin also obtained a detailed map of the wilderness from Fragrant Tea. The detailed route was marked on the map. Every leveling spot was marked with a red dot. They could clearly see what kind of monsters were there. At night, the party rested by the bright moon lake. There were silver-winged fish in the lake. Its meat was fresh and had few bones. The people of the Medicine Lady tribe caught some and cooked it before sending it to Fragrant Tea. Everyone try it. This is a specialty of the Bright Moon Lake. It's delicious. Fragrant Tea served Shuang Ling and Luchin. At night, many of them fell asleep immediately after a day of fierce battles. The warriors of the Medicine Lady tribe were searching around the campsite. Shuang Ling was tired after the battle and went to bed early. Although Little Green wasn't very useful, its level was still low. This kind of battle was very taxing on her, so she had already fallen asleep. Luchin summoned Little Furball to protect them. The little guy didn't hold back and rested between the two girls. Luchin didn't plan to sleep. He wouldn't sleep until the guy hiding in the dark appeared. Sitting alone by the lake, Luchin checked the map under the moonlight. You haven't slept yet? Someone is on night duty. A voice came from behind. Luchin turned around and saw Fragrant Tea. You haven't slept either? Sigh, I don't dare to sleep. Fragrant Tea sat beside Luchin. She shook her head and said self-deprecatingly, This is my coming-of-age ceremony. I didn't expect to be so lucky to encounter something like this. Luchin smiled faintly. It's not a bad thing to encounter him early. According to this trend, that guy will make a big move sooner or later. Xiangcha nodded in agreement. By the way, the people in the tribe know that the Ice Queen is in my team. They asked if there was a man beside the Ice Queen. Scented Tea looked at Luchin. So you are solipsistic? Luchin was almost moved to tears. Finally someone knew his name. Actually, it was you who killed the desolate god War Soul. And it was also you who saved the Ice Queen. For some reason, Xiangcha's attitude towards Luchin became much softer. I'm very curious. In this Jyotian society where the strong prey on the weak, why didn't you keep the mysterious ice divine blood for yourself? Why did you save a person you've just met? Luchin smiled. There's no reason. I just thought she was worth saving, so I saved her. I think you're too confident in yourself. You think that even without the mysterious ice divine blood, you'll still be very strong. Luchin smiled. He didn't expect that someone who didn't even know him would say what he was thinking. That's part of the reason. Although the Jyotian is dangerous, there are also many opportunities. If the Desolate God and the Desolate God could find similar treasures, why can't I? So in my eyes, that thing isn't as important as Shuang Ling's life. After all, the two of them weren't familiar with each other. Both of them were silent for a moment. Luchin suddenly took the map and asked, This area isn't marked. What do you mean? That's a forbidden area. All the hunting team's routes go around that area. What's inside? Luchin asked. I don't know. It seems like there's a very strong protective formation there. We can't enter. Luchin nodded. In other words, that place is very likely to be the habitat of the intelligent wild monster. Well, actually it's just my guess that monsters have intelligence. Besides, even if you know that guy is hiding there, you can't get in. Luchin smiled. Why did he think that Fragrant Tea was telling the truth? The reason was simple. It was because he was a monster with intelligence. Xiangcha's guess was not impossible. As for whether he could get in or not, he would have to try. Don't tell me you're going to look for that guy. We'll be thankful if we can get out of here alive. Don't mess with him. Luchin narrowed his eyes. I don't know if it's just my illusion, but I feel that the reason why he's attacking our team is because of me. It's like there's a force between me and him that's pulling us together. If I'm not wrong, he's attacking the hunting team frequently today. He's probably preparing for the final battle. Xiangcha didn't understand, but Lu Chen's deduction still scared her. The final battle? You're really going to look for him? That's right, I have to find him. Lu Chen took a deep breath and said with certainty, we need to settle this once and for all. When? At that moment a gust of wind blew. The tents in the camp were almost overturned, and many people woke up from their dreams. Lu Chen stood up and looked around. He didn't see any monsters coming. He narrowed his eyes. It seems that he'll show up tomorrow at the latest. The next morning, the team packed up and got ready to leave. On this day, the sky was exceptionally clear. Not a single monster appeared. And there wasn't even a trace of wind. The calmer it was, the more alert Lu Chen became. In front of them was the biggest leveling spot in the wild zone. At that moment, 7 or 8 teams were passing by this leveling area. Xiangcha, is that you? The team leader of the opposite team saw Xiangcha and jogged over. Hey, did you encounter any monsters on the way? We haven't encountered any monsters since last night. I don't know what's going on. Xiangcha said. Us too. That's strange. This is the first time we've encountered such a situation. You should have received the news that 8 teams were wiped out yesterday. Now, every team has to move forward according to their original route. The wind has blocked our way, and we can't turn back. The tribe wants us to return as soon as possible. I've also received the news from the tribe. Brother Changhong, if your tribe's route is blocked, does that mean we can't get through? Hey, that's right. Don't you see that 8 teams have already gathered here? They all came from different routes, but they're all trapped in the giant mountain range. I don't plan to move forward. At least we can look after each other. They didn't expect that the other teams were also trapped. Xiangcha was depressed. They couldn't leave the wild zone either. At noon that day, more than 20 teams had gathered in the giant mountain range. Since they couldn't leave the wild zone, they could only set up camp here. In the evening, the peaceful giant mountain range was suddenly swept by a gust of wind. The surrounding trees tilted, and the branches and leaves shook violently. Shuangling walked to Lu Chen's side. Brother Kuang, something's wrong. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Shuangling, help me protect Little Green. Brother Oxhead and his daughter. I'm going out for a while. Brother Kuang, where are you going? It's very dangerous now. I'm worried about you. Lu Chen's expression was a little strange. There was a faint green mist in his eyes. Interesting. I heard his voice. He's declaring war on me. This matter can only be solved by me. You can't help. After saying that, Lu Chen walked out of the camp alone. At the same time, under the moonlight, a giant beast walked out of the forest amidst the wind. Its appearance instantly attracted everyone's attention. What kind of boss is that? I've never seen this kind of monster before. Why does it have so many characteristics of monsters? Someone exclaimed. At this moment the giant beast spoke. Black Barton, why don't you kneel when you see me? Chapter 671. Black Barton. Only a few people had seen this name before, but no one had ever connected it to Lu Chen. And this strange beast opposite him opened its mouth and said Lu Chen's most primitive name. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes, sizing up the guy in front of him. This was a 5-headed dragon. Its back wasn't covered in dragon scales, but rather the shell of a black tortoise. Its claws seemed to be more developed than a normal dragon's, and its wings were even larger. It should be the wings of a vermilion bird. Seeing this strange guy, Lu Chen suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. Wasn't this his messing around self? It had fused with the bloodlines of various monsters, so it looked strange. This guy must have undergone a large amount of evolution, selection, and fusion, and finally fused with the attributes of the 4 divine beasts. At this time, everyone was looking for the so-called Black Barton in the crowd. Lu Chen walked out of the crowd by himself. Shuangling exclaimed, Big Brother Kuang, what are you doing? The person I've been waiting for is him. Lu Chen finished speaking, and continued walking towards the other party. Big Brother Kuang is Black Barton? Shuangling asked Little Green strangely. Speaking of which, Little Green hadn't actually seen Lu Chen's original ID. probably only Xiaomin knew. Black Barton, you really aren't willing to kneel to this king. A mountain can't have two tigers. It's time for us to settle this. Roar! The king of monsters let out a shocking roar. The ground behind Lu Chen cracked, and 100-meter wide, bottomless chasm appeared, separating Lu Chen from the group behind him. Everyone felt their ears ringing, and their eyes going dizzy. When they saw the huge chasm, they couldn't help but open their mouths wide. What kind of skill is this? With just a roar, it directly changed the landscape. What kind of monster is that guy? That roar just now made me panic and dizzy. My God, there's such a strong monster? Its strength is probably even above a fourth heaven domain boss. Don't underestimate a stage for heavenly domain boss. That guy was the gatekeeper of the heavenly domain before the qualitative change. His strength is unfathomable. However, I can be sure that this monster's goal is not to stay in the fourth heaven. This monster king has the ambition to reach the peak of Jiutian. After this roar, tens of thousands of monsters surged out from behind the players. Almost all the monsters that could be encountered from Windsweep Valley to the giant mountain range had appeared. The land and the sky were completely filled with monsters. They surrounded everyone, but did not attack. Black Bolton, this is a decisive battle between us. As long as your people don't interfere, I can guarantee that before you die, those people will be safe. Lu Chen looked at the group behind him. They were facing so many monsters, including a large number of exotic beast bosses. If he died, they would all die. In fact, the entire wildlands would be massacred. He frowned. The king of monsters? That's right. In this Jiutian, the monsters that can be seen everywhere are my people. Once, we were not sentient and became your hunting targets. However, after thousands of years of continuous training, this king awakened sentience. After a large amount of fusion, I am no longer a lamb for you to slaughter. Lu Chen nodded. Indeed, Shuangling's deduction was correct. Since I have awakened, I will no longer allow myself to be slaughtered. In turn, I will hunt you down. One day, I will reach the peak of the ninth heaven and make all of you tremble in front of me. Lu Chen frowned. Lu Chen was able to reach where he was today largely because of the monster's evolved abilities. 5 consecutive strikes, critical hits, lifesteal, and so on. He naturally knew that the strength of this monster king was not to be underestimated. Black Bolton, today I will let you know who is the one who defies the heavens. In the distance, Shuangling was about to charge over, but Lu Chen waved his hand to stop her. Shuangling, protect the others. And what it said was right. This battle is my final battle. None of you should interfere. Wild monster, this is Lu Chen's most fundamental identity. This battle would also be a kind of end. Taking a deep breath, Lu Chen opened his eyes. At the same time, he activated Heaven's Eye in 6 transformations. Suddenly, the surroundings were swept by a strong gust of wind. Heaven and earth were in chaos. 3 lives reincarnation. Lu Chen directly used 2 of his lives to activate his second strongest state. At this moment, Lu Chen was bathed in flames. That evil child was like a demon that had awakened from hell. Xiaolon stared dumbfoundedly at Lu Chen, who was in the state of god-devil symbiosis. Was this his true strength? He had just said that the Ice Empress was not the Monster King's opponent. Did that mean that he was stronger than the Ice Empress? He was clearly an ordinary human. Shuangling took a step back. This meant that she agreed with Lu Chen's words. She could not defeat an opponent, but Lu Chen still had the strength to fight. Who is that man? Is he stronger than the Ice Empress? Are you blind? That's the 9 transformations. Jiutian's #1 forbidden technique. In the 4th heaven, more and more people knew about the 9 transformations. Some people had already recognized Lu Chen's current state. He's only using the 6 transformations. He definitely hasn't gathered all the 9 transformations. If he doesn't have all the techniques, he won't be able to unleash all his combat strength. He might not be the Monster King's opponent. That thing can rule the entire wilderness. Imagine how many beasts there are in the wilderness. How many bosses are there? Its strength definitely far surpasses all the monsters here. Although these people had already realized the Monster King's strength, Lu Chen knew very well that they had still underestimated its strength. It had fused with all the bloodlines of divine beasts and mutated beasts. This was something that even Lu Chun could not achieve. However, if he did not kill this guy today, its strength would probably be even more terrifying in the future. Heaven-defying demonic might. Lu Chun directly activated Heaven's might. Right now, he was only one step away from his strongest state. When the mixed divine demon cultivation technique reached the third stage, Heaven-defying demonic might alone could increase his stats by 160. Right now, Lu Chen's stats had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Facing the Monster King, Lu Chen directly entered his strongest state. Haha, Black Bolton, well done. This is more interesting. Let's have a fair fight. The Monster King laughed maniacally. Supreme Domain. Primal Chaos Domain. Both of them activated their domains at the same time. Shuangling's breathing was hurried. She had never seen such an exaggerated scene. The strength of these two people had reached an unimaginable level. Just as the two of them were about to fight, the scene suddenly changed. The entire giant mountain range suddenly rose up and down. The ground moved as if there was a huge monster moving underground. A deep and low voice sounded. Monster King? This kind of thing is not allowed to appear in my territory. Therefore, I can only kill you. Lu Chen's heart sank. The person who came was without a doubt a fourth heaven domain boss. Chapter 672. After hearing this voice, everyone present, including the wild monsters, became alert. It's that guy. Fourth heaven domain boss. Didn't it not come to the wildlands? Why would it appear here today? It can't be, even that guy is alarmed. With three of the strongest, I'm afraid this will be an unprecedented battle. Not far in front of Lu Chun, the ground suddenly exploded, and a shocking giant beast drilled out from the ground. After seeing this guy's ID, Lu Chun couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Extreme Nether Glow Remnant Soul. If there was anything more terrifying than the four ultimate divine beasts, and the four ultimate ferocious beasts, then it had to be the two sacred beasts. Extreme Yang Illumination, Extreme Nether Glow. It was said that these two sacred beasts were formed from the chaos after Pengu created the world. The yin and yang of the two elements combined with Pengu's eyes, creating a sacred beast each. From this, it could be seen that the status of the two sacred beasts was far higher than the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Black Tortoise, Vermilion Bird, and other divine beasts that appeared later. Lu Chun had seen one of the Extreme Nether Glow's eyes, and it left a deep impression on him. It was because that eye was Pengu's eye. The Extreme Nether Glow belonged to the Yin attribute. No wonder it would devour the corpses of the dead in the war zone. The Extreme Nether Glow was a long-haired woman with a snake tail. Although this woman's posture was graceful, she didn't have eyes on her face, only the Heaven's eye on her forehead. At this moment, it was blinking, looking extremely terrifying. Right now, only half of the Extreme Nether Glow's body was revealed, but it was already more than 200 meters long. Even the Wild Monster King seemed a little short in front of it. It's you. The Wild Monster King's 5 dragon heads stared at the Extreme Nether Glow remnant soul that suddenly appeared. Don't think you can stop me. The Extreme Nether Glow's voice was very neutral, low and distant. I have no intention of discussing with you. I'm here to kill you. As for you, the Extreme Nether Glow turned its head, and that Heaven's eye looked at Lu Chun. Our 1-year agreement is not up yet. I can let you stay for another 4 months. The situation suddenly changed. The 4th Heaven Domain boss was actually here to kill the Wild Monster King. However, Lu Chun had an indescribable feeling. The King of Monsters was more similar to him than anyone else. The duel between them was fair. However, the King of the Wild Monsters was now facing the wrath of a stage for Heavenly Domain boss. This felt very similar to when he was being targeted. Ha ha ha, kill me? Just because I'm one of those monsters that you've arranged? Because I have intelligence? Since that's the case, why don't you kill me before I'm strong enough? Powerful. Extreme Nether Glow snorted coldly. Do you have the right to say that in front of me? Look at you now. You're nothing but a freak. Do you really think you can defy the heavens with your impure bloodline? Cut the crap, Lunar Nether Glow. You're just a Jotian watchdog. If you want to fight, then let's fight. I'm not afraid. The lunar phantom raised her head slightly. You still don't know when death is at hand. Suddenly the ground shook. To be precise, it was the ground rolling. The entire ground became unstable. Lu Chen couldn't stand steadily, and hurriedly retreated to the other side of the chasm, to stand with everyone. Then the earth and rocks exploded. The lunar netherglow's body seemed to be boundless, as it swept towards the King of Monsters. The King of Monsters' 5 dragon heads spewed out 5 colored flames, in an attempt to force the lunar netherglow back. However, the 5 colored flames didn't seem to have touched anything and directly passed through the lunar netherglow's body. Lu Chen's eyes widened. He had attacked the lunar netherglow's stone wall before, but he had never touched its body. The first time he saw the lunar netherglow's defense method, it already made Lu Chen's scalp tingle. What did it mean to directly pass through the body? It wasn't immunity, it wasn't dodging, it didn't need to defend. Resistance, it directly ignored the opponent's attack. The King of Monsters was probably stunned. Its attack clearly didn't miss, but it only hit one person. When experts fought, victory and defeat were decided in a split second. Just as the King of Monsters was stunned for a fraction of a second, the lunar netherglow pounced on the opponent. White Tiger combo. The King of Monsters quickly reacted. It had many wild monster talents, so it wasn't afraid of the opponent at all. However, at this moment, a stone wall suddenly rose in front of the King of Monsters. The King of Monsters' attack landed on the stone wall, shattering it. However, when it wanted to pursue and attack the lunar netherglow, its sharp claws directly passed through the lunar netherglow's body. There was no reaction at all. It can't be. Is a stage 4 domain boss so strong? Elemental attacks, spiritual attacks, and physical attacks can't even hit its body. How can we fight it? It's said that no one has actually killed a stage 4 domain boss before. In the Tong Tian Tower, it's more of a test of the strength of the challenger. If your strength passes, it will let you go. Otherwise, it will directly kill you. Are you serious? No one has really killed the lunar netherglow before? I also heard about it. However, look at its defense method. I think it's very likely. It doesn't take any form of attack at all. Is its body real or not? The King of Monsters frequently attacked, constantly changing the types of attacks. Pure spiritual attacks, various elemental attacks, and even heavenly attacks. All of the attacks had the same result. They clearly hit the target, but they all directly passed through the lunar netherglow's body and landed in the air. Lu Chen saw this scene and frowned. He still underestimated the lunar netherglow's strength. At least for now, Lu Chen couldn't think of a way to break it. The King of Monsters' dozens of attacks all missed. It had many skills, but they were all useless. Damn it, impossible. No one can ignore all of my attacks. The King of Monsters roared. You must have a weakness. Oh, are you sure? I even said that wild monsters couldn't have spiritual intelligence. In the end, didn't you appear? However, this doesn't make any difference to me. In front of me, you are all weak. A few minutes later, the King of Monsters had already attacked countless times. Each time it failed. The lunar netherglow wasn't hit even once. This is the strength of the lunar netherglow. It's too scary. If this continues, we won't be able to kill it. Lu Chen's mind was spinning wildly. In 4.5 months, Lu Chen would have to fight this guy. However, if he encountered such an opponent, what were his chances of winning? After more than 10 minutes of battle, the lunar netherglow didn't directly attack. It mainly used the earth wall to block the opponent's position. Every time the King of Monsters moved, the lunar netherglow could accurately predict the opponent's moving target. Is it the Heavenly Eye? The Heavenly Eye can help it predict the opponent's skill position. Lu Chen stared at the Heavenly Eye of the lunar netherglow. That eye was at least as big as 2 or 3 of Lu Chen's eyes. Perhaps it was even stronger than Lu Chen's Heavenly Eye. At this moment, the lunar netherglow attacked. Dark clear yin-yang seal. The female body slapped out. In an instant, the King of Monsters' HP decreased by 8 billion. It only had 2 billion HP left. What kind of damage is this? Everyone was shocked. 8 billion HP. Only the King of Monsters could block it. If it were any other player, they would be killed in one hit. Chapter 673. The King of Monsters quickly recovered its HP, and its HP instantly increased by 5 billion. Lu Chen knew better than anyone that this was the bloodline of the Black Tortoise. The people on the side were already stunned. What level of battle is this? The damage and HP recovery are all in the billions. I'm afraid we won't even be cannon fodder if we go. I didn't expect that when others saw me fighting, they thought I was a god fighting. But this is a real god fighting. But the monsters probably can't win. Lunar Nether Glow is too strong. Not only is its attack crazy, but the key is that it can't hit. Shuang Ling stood beside Lu Chen. Although the King of Monsters is also very strong, I'm afraid it's still not a match for Lunar Nether Glow. Lu Chen had a strange feeling in his heart at this time. The Stage 4 domain boss came to kill the King of Monsters after knowing that it was born. This was very similar to him in the past. The King of the Wild Monsters was also another version of himself. The giant mountain range was destroyed by the King of Monsters' lightless sky flame pillar. But Lunar Nether Glow was still unharmed. I already said that in front of me. You're still 1,000 miles away from being strong. I won't allow you to exist, so you can only die. Damn it, what level is your Star Buddha body? Do you think you have the right to know? The King of Monsters also understood that it couldn't break the Lunar Nether Glow's Star Buddha body, so it had no hope of defeating its opponent. It began to try to escape. However, Lunar Nether Glow's huge snake tail had already trapped it in the center. Want to escape? Sorry, in the Extreme Een realm, you can't escape. Mysterious Een Star Destruction. With a loud bang, endless black smoke burst out from the ground in a radius of a few thousand meters around the snake tail. The black smoke formed a black pillar that shot into the sky. The ground was directly corroded by the black smoke, forming a bottomless abyss. Within the range of the mysterious Een Star Destruction, any trees, rocks, everything was attacked endlessly. Everyone was already scared by this move, their faces pale, and their consciousness blurred. There was no way to escape from the snake tail. However, if it was combined with the mysterious Een Star Destruction, how could they play? Even the King of Monsters couldn't withstand such a crazy attack for more than a few seconds. Ah! The 5 dragon heads screamed in unison. Die! I can't accept this. I can't accept this. The King of Monsters was indeed very strong. When Lu Chen faced it, he had to activate his strongest state and deal with it seriously. One had to know that the current Lu Chen was much stronger than when he had first reached the 4th heavenly layer. However, in front of the lunar shadow, it was still unable to fight back and was killed. Black Barton, it's a pity that we didn't have a fair competition. However, if you still acknowledge your true identity, then bring our will and defeat the Extreme Een Nether Glow. We were born lowly, but I was unwilling to accept the fate of the heavens. However, the heavens did not accept me. In the end, I did not have the strength to defy the heavens. Black Barton, you must go on. When you stand at the peak of Jiutian, help me ask the heavens whether there is a king, a marquis, a general, or a minister. The voice of the King of Monsters gradually weakened. Its huge body gradually blurred in the black fog and almost completely disappeared. Black Barton, promise me. Otherwise, I won't be able to rest in peace. Lu Chen took a deep breath. His eyes were bloodshot and his voice trembled. I promise. I promise you that I will defeat the Extreme Een Nether Glow. I also promise you that I will stand at the peak of Jiutian and overturn everything with my own hands. Ha 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 ha, good. I believe you. King of Monsters, you are more worthy of your title than I am. Suddenly Lu Chen knelt on one knee. Black Barton, I am willing to accept you as my king. No, Black Barton, the winner takes all. It has been like this since ancient times. You have already walked on a different path from me. I only hope that you will never forget your original intentions and never forget your lowly past. It's a pity that I won't be able to see the moment when you are crowned king. Farewell, great king of jackals. Lu Chen lowered his head, his eyes blurred. In Lu Chen's eyes, the King of Monsters was not someone else. It was another version of himself who was unwilling to accept the fate of the heavens. Another hero, who would rather die than compromise. However, it failed and was easily killed by the strongest gatekeeper. Not even its bones were left. The extreme nether glow turned around and looked at Lu Chun with its huge heavenly eye. The woman smiled, her voice full of provocation. Solipsistic, there are still 4.5 months left. The next one will be you. Lu Chun stood up and looked straight at the heavenly eye. I will kill you. Ha 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 ha. I like your confidence. It makes the game more interesting. After saying that, the extreme nether glow dived into the huge abyss and disappeared. When everything returned to normal, only the bottomless abyss on the ground told everyone what kind of incredible battle had happened here. The surrounding monsters had lost the control of the king of monsters and dispersed, returning to their own territories. Perhaps it would not be long before the wilderness returned to normal. People drove hunting teams back and forth in the wilderness, hunting all kinds of monsters. The moment the monsters left, Lu Chun could not see any ripples in their eyes. Perhaps this was the greatest sorrow of the king of monsters. No one fought with it. Its own kind did not even know the reason why it fought, nor did they know why it fought. Walking in front of the abyss, Lu Chun looked at the bottomless abyss, as if there was an eye looking at him. King of monsters, I will help you finish your unfinished business, Lu Chun murmured. The strange events in the wilderness finally came to an end after the king of monsters was killed. Those who were fortunate enough to witness the great battle relished the story of the battle to others. The center of the wilderness could also be entered. Presumably, that was the habitat of the king of monsters. After its death, the seal on it was lifted. There, people found the entrance to a dungeon called Wildlands Dungeon. However, no one knew why the dungeon did not respond when anyone touched the dungeon door. Lu Chun followed Fragrant Tea's team to the destination. Usually, teams would make a round trip so that they could return to their original tribe. Solipsistic Ice Queen Green Lady, do you still want to come with us? Fragrant Tea tried to persuade the three to stay. Lu Chun shook his head. Now that the king of monsters is dead, the previous situation will not happen again. You have been doing well. I believe that you can lead the team by yourself. Fragrant Tea smiled and nodded. To be praised by Solipsistic, I'm happier than being praised by my father. The three of you, welcome to our Medicine Lady tribe. I heard that Green Lady is an expert in medicine and poison. Our ancestors were medicine ladies under the origami. There are many related inheritances that we can discuss with each other. Lu Chun nodded. There will be opportunities. Chapter 674. Before leaving, under the lead of Oxhead, Xiaolon walked shyly to Lu Chun and the others. Uncle Du Kuang, Ice Empress, Big Sister Lu. I said some inappropriate things before. I apologize. Xiaolon lowered her head and spoke in a very soft voice. If it wasn't for you, we would all have died there. Lu Chun smiled and patted Xiaolan's head. It's nothing. You just said what most people would say. You're also very brave. I believe your father would be proud of you. In the face of danger, Xiaolon didn't abandon her father. Her performance was much better than many of her peers. Brother, we're leaving. If fate wills it, we'll meet again. Oxhead sighed. I really didn't expect you to be a solipsistic. Speaking of which, I actually called you brother. I'm ashamed. What are you talking about? In my eyes, character is the only criterion I have for making friends. Ha ha ha, to be honest brother, if you weren't a solipsistic, how good would it be? We could have traveled together. This old bull really likes your character. It's just that. Oxhead seemed to have thought of something, and his happy smile suddenly became gloomy. Extreme Netherglow's strength is far beyond our expectations. I didn't think it would be so strong. It seems that the legends are true. No one has truly defeated it. That fellow is simply undefeatable. It seems that it won't let you go. Brother, you shouldn't go looking for it. Lu Chun smiled. It's not invincible. Its attack methods are mainly Earth-type attacks. Dark Clear Lunar Seal, Lunar Star Annihilation. I'm not very afraid of Earth-type attacks. As for the seal, I've noticed it before. Dark Clear Lunar Seal seems to have exaggerated power, but it's actually related to the mechanism of the skill. Oh, what mechanism? The more pure spiritual energy the opponent consumes, the stronger the attack. Oxhead carefully recalled. Indeed, Extreme E Nether Glow didn't use seals at the beginning. Instead, it waited until the King of Monsters used a large number of skills before attacking. Perhaps it was in pursuit of higher damage. But its most powerful skill isn't the Dharma Seal. It's the Stars of Annihilation. There's simply no way to counter that skill. Lu Chen smiled as he said, I'll think about it eventually. I'm going to finish this battle for the King of Monsters. Sigh. It's really unfair. When others pass through the fourth layer of heaven, they only need to know that they have obtained the approval of the Extreme E Nether Glow. But you want to fight it to the death. Such a strong guy, he's dead for sure. Xiaolon raised her head. Unable to hold back her curiosity, she asked, Uncle Du Kuang, are you a monster or a human? The King of Monsters said that you are the King of Gnolls? What's that? As soon as the child finished asking, she was stopped by the Oxhead brother. Xiaolon. It seemed that Big Brother Oxhead did not wish to talk about this matter. Perhaps in his opinion, Lu Chen would feel ashamed of this identity. Lu Chen smiled and said to Xiaolon, I'm a human and a monster. I used to be a gnoll. You probably haven't seen it before. It's the weakest monster in the first heaven. This time even Big Brother Oxhead was stunned. From the weakest monster in the first heaven to the current solipsistic. What did this guy do all this time? From the weakest human race to a race that did not lose to any other race. How many hardships did he go through? After Lu Chen and the others left, Xiaolon excitedly said, Dad, you're actually brothers with the solipsistic and know the Ice Empress. When I go back, I'll tell my mom. She'll definitely be super proud. Big Brother Oxhead did not seem to hear anything and only coldly looked at the back of the departing figure. Solipsistic, you are also not tolerated by the heavens and the earth. The path you walk is also destined to be a path that defies the heavens. No matter how much injustice you encounter, no matter how much you are targeted, please continue to walk down this path. Walking in the wilderness, Shuangling and Lu Yi looked at Lu Chen strangely. Lu Chen shook his head. Why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? No, but boss, I don't dare to ask. Ask away. Upon hearing boss's words, Lu Yi immediately became interested. Boss, although I know you have several forms, I didn't expect you to be a gnoll. Then can you change back for us to see? Lu Chen was speechless. This woman changed too quickly. The don't dare to ask just now was a trap. What change? That was an accident. Next question. Shuangling raised her hand. I have a question. Brother Kuang, are you a human or a monster? I mean, your original appearance is in reality human. Shuangling let out a long sigh of relief. Oh, that's good. You scared me to death. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Even if he was a gnoll, was he that scary? That was the weakest monster. Since there was no danger now, Lu Chen simply released Xiaomin, the alchemy boy, Rhubarb, and the little fur ball. It was more lively on the road. Boss, what do you think are your chances of winning against the king of the wild monsters? Little Min finally asked a question that was a little technical. I will win. Lu Chen's answer was very firm and short. What about Lunar Nether Glow? That guy. Lu Chen thought of Lunar Nether Glow and couldn't help but narrow his eyes. It's a little beyond my imagination. There are some people in the wildlands who are preparing to challenge the Tower of Babel. Originally, I thought it was strange. With the strength of those people, I should have been able to defeat it long ago. But when I met it in the war zone, I felt that it was especially strong. Those people shouldn't be able to defeat it. Now I know that Lunar Nether Glow hasn't been killed before. If it's a life and death battle, the key is to break its star annihilation, Shuangling said. Its trapping array isn't a domain-type skill, which is actually more troublesome. I'm afraid that your shattering void will only break its restrictions in one go. At that time, it won't be able to block its star annihilation. Lu Chen nodded. When fighting it, I can't use Shattering Void unless it's absolutely necessary. Shattering Void consumes all my pure spiritual energy in one go. At this time, if it uses Lunar Nether Glow, the damage will be maximized based on the amount of pure spiritual energy I'm losing. I'm afraid that one move will destroy my body. Then what should we do? Lu Chen shook his head. I don't know. Ah, boss. You still don't know how to deal with it. But we only have 4.5 months until the day of the final battle. Lu Chen laughed. Who cares so much? Let's level up first. Then help the natives remove the curse. Oh, and the Wildlands Instance Dungeon. It's always right to increase our strength first. The alchemy boy suddenly said. Xiao Kuang, you're also a monster. Don't you feel guilty about farming monsters? As expected of the alchemy boy, he lived up to everyone's expectations and had a sharp tongue. Lu Chen smiled slightly. Guilty? That's not true. Not every monster is the king of monsters. They don't have spiritual intelligence. And as long as their consciousness exists, they will be infinitely refreshed. Killing them is just for the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Why should I feel guilty? You don't really think that I'm a good person? The alchemy boy suddenly froze. Yes, Lu Chen wasn't a good person at all. Chapter 675. Lu Chen chose a leveling spot on the map and brought Shuang Ling and the others along. As the area with the most monsters in the wilderness, Sunset Valley was often surrounded by a large number of hunting parties. They carefully pulled monsters to level up. At this moment, many people saw a strange party. This party only had 1 man, 2 women, 2 children, and a rhubarb dog. Rhubarb even had a little white mouse on its head. The few people walked straight into the valley. The adult man in the lead was casually chatting with the 2 women. It looked like they were going for a vacation. Which hunting party are these people from? They really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How can they enter a place like Sunset Valley so casually? 2 humans and 3 spirit pets? Did they go to the wrong place without a map? One of the tribe's leaders suddenly called out to Lu Chen. Hey kid, there's a monster nest in front. It's fine if you go in and die. But if you disturb the monsters inside, we'll all be dragged down. Lu Chen looked at the man and said calmly, Go somewhere else to level up. There won't be any monsters here. What? Hey, speak clearly. What do you mean? Lu Chen was too lazy to explain. He ignored the man and continued to enter Sunset Valley. When the few people entered the valley, a sudden burst of cold air came from the valley. Then, the entrances to the valley were all sealed by ice. When the group saw this, they were shocked. This is sealing the Savage Sun Valley? What are they doing? Can't you see what they're doing? They want to monopolize all the monsters here. That's impossible. They want to monopolize the monster nest with just these few people? Don't you know who went in? An elder of the blacksmith tribe shook his head and said, Only the Ice Empress can freeze such a large area. Ice Empress Shuang Ling. That's right. And if I'm not wrong, that human man should be solipsistic. You should have heard about him, attracting the Monster King. He's even stronger than the Ice Empress. This group of people are all top-notch existences in the 4th celestial layer. We cannot afford to offend them. Another elder said. Actually, they also have the right to enjoy this place alone. After all, they helped us get rid of the king of wild monsters. Otherwise, we would have to be on tenterhooks when leading a team. Speaking of this, all the team leaders nodded their heads. Originally, they had not dared to enter because of the 2's strength, but now, they were all convinced. 4th elder is right. If that's the case, even if they want to monopolize the entire wilderness for a period of time, it's still acceptable. Everyone should report to their respective tribe leaders that they don't need to come to the Sunset Valley for the time being. Although the Aboriginals were ferocious and were the most important force in the wildlands, they also had their own traditions, and that was fair trade. Regardless of whether it was the Holy Maiden tribe or the Fragrance of Tea leading the team, they only charged 20 spirit stones, but they still handled each segment in an orderly manner. It could be seen that they had a relatively simple tradition. Lu Chen had helped them solve the hidden danger in the jungle, so he had the right to monopolize any jungle. Soon, the various tribes changed their hunting routes one after another, excluding the Sunset Valley. At the same time, Lu Chen and the others were crazily farming in the Sunset Valley. Killed horned blackstriped tiger, level 320 demon boss. Obtained 1,300,000,000 spirit stones. Killed Aoing, level 350 exotic beast boss. Obtained 2 billion spirit stones. Obtained exotic beast skull, immortal tier normal material. Obtained Aoing talons dark gold weapon. Killed Aoing, level 350 exotic beast boss. Obtained 2 billion spirit stones. Obtained heaven storage ring, increased backpack limit by 1000. Obtained iron bones, immortal tier normal material. A sea of experience and information flooded the screen crazily. Lu Chen's doppelganger lured the monsters while Frost Silk's AoE attacks and crowd control worked with Lu Chen's AoE skills to grind down the monsters' HP. Then, Lu Chen's spiritual space cannon harvested the monsters. The two of them increased their farming efficiency to the maximum. However, to the wild monsters, the scariest was not these two, but the heaven-devouring rat. Little Fur Ball had already transformed and bit everything it saw. The scene was especially bloody. The wild monsters here easily gave billions of experience. After splitting it according to their levels, Lu Chen and Frost Silk could get 40%, and Little Green could get 20%. Xiao Min and Little Helper didn't have much use for the experience. Their abilities wouldn't increase with their levels. With Frost Silk, a powerful AoE mage, the leveling speed of the team was much faster than Lu Chen leveling alone. Moreover, they could enjoy a 15% experience bonus. Everyone's leveling speed skyrocketed. After a while, Frost Silk asked curiously, "Big Brother Kwang, the amount of spirit stones we get is the same. Why are you leveling faster than me?" Lu Chen smiled. "I have a 60% experience bonus." This was the set effect of the Devil's set. Lu Chen still had it. "Ah." Frost Silk's eyes widened. "Big Brother Kwang, you're already leveling up so fast. And you even have an experience bonus. No wonder you're not in a hurry to level up." "Who said that?" "I'm in a hurry, okay? It's because I can't find a place to level up. But I realized that after my eyesight improved, leveling up is really too fast. I've already leveled up a few times. It's just that my pure spirit stones can't keep up. Even if we brought so many spirit stones, we can't withstand such consumption. It's okay. Little Helper can cultivate spirit stones very quickly. After cultivating them, Little Green can refine more spirit stones. You rest for a while. I'm hungry too. You and Little Green can prepare lunch." On the first day, the team had already completed the run-in. Little Helper could grow a lot of low-level herbs in 10 minutes. Then Little Green would refine spirit stones. When there was spirit stones, Frost Silk would help Lu Chen kill monsters. When there was no spirit stones, she would boil water and cook in the camp. Sometimes when Frost Silk rested, she would take Little Green, Little Helper, Xiao Min, and Rhubarb around to see if there were any herbs to dig. The only one who always accompanied Lu Chen was Little Fur Ball. That fellow had already killed its way to the dark sky. With Boss around, it was absolutely safe. It happily took a bite here and there. Lu Chen knew that with every bite it took, its stats would increase by a little. He was also looking forward to Little Furball's second evolution. Lu Chen was still a long way from level 440. He calculated the time, and was afraid that he wouldn't be able to max out his level in one go. After more than a month, Lu Chen had reached level 400. On average, he was leveling up 3 times a day. Frost Silk's level was already maxed out, at level 360. Little Green's level was at level 220. Even Xiao Min and the other divine beasts were at level 200. There was no other way. There was no other way. There was no other way but to share the experience with these two fellows. It was worth mentioning that Little Helper's level had increased from level 204 to level 288. Little Helper also had level 3 Heaven's Might. Unfortunately, Little Tong didn't have any talent for battle, and wasn't interested in it either. It didn't matter whether he leveled up or not. Even Infernal Venerable didn't give him a full level. This was evident from this. Chapter 676. Before the Wildlands dungeon, Lu Chen recalled Little Green and Rhubarb. A month ago, when the Wildlands dungeon was first discovered, there was a sea of people here. Everyone was trying various methods to enter the dungeon. However, no one succeeded. The dungeon door seemed to be fake. No matter how hard they tried, they could not enter. After more than a month, there were still many people here. They were racking their brains at the dungeon door, looking for a secret passage. I really don't understand. If we can't enter the dungeon, why is it here? This dungeon seems to be the first time it appeared. It's so hidden and strange. There must be some treasure inside. Everyone knows. The key is how to enter. It's been so long. Many experts have come, but no one has entered. At that moment, people saw someone walk straight to the dungeon door. Then, the man in the lead took out a key and placed it on the dungeon door. Then they were teleported into the dungeon. The group of people's jaws almost hit their feet. Damn, what's going on? That guy entered the dungeon? This. Who is he? Where did he get the key? Why does he have the key? I've been in the 4th layer for almost 10 years, and I've never heard of the Wildlands dungeon key. Isn't that normal? Have you heard of the Whirlpool key? Didn't it appear at the market? When the Wildlands dungeon appeared, Wuxia already knew that he might be the only one who could enter that place. In the Shura secret realm, he obtained a key to the Wildlands dungeon. The difference between him and others was that others knew about the dungeon before the key, but he got the key first and did not know the dungeon's location. But now everything had an answer. With such a matching item name, if Wuxia still could not think of it, then he would be a fool. Brother Kwang, I really admire you. How do you have all kinds of treasures? Shuangling sighed and shook her head. Wuxia smiled. It's a long story. I got this key by accident. I didn't know what it was until a month ago. After using the key disappeared. So, I guess this is a one-time dungeon. Shuangling, we have to try our best to clear the dungeon in one go. Shuangling nodded heavily. That's right, we have to keep up with our speed. The time spent clearing the dungeon might trigger the hidden boss. The instant's dungeon was filled with birdsong and the fragrance of flowers. Currently, he could see some 6-petal flower demons wandering among the flowers and plants. Occasionally, he could see a few demon foxes, which should be 6-tailed. 6-petal flower demoness, 6-tailed demon fox. Looks like the monsters here are stronger than the ones outside. Wuxia temporarily recalled Little Green. After all, Little Green did not have any movement skills, so it might not be able to keep up with the two of them. Then, the two of them charged forward, ignoring the monsters that were chasing after them, as they headed straight for the boss's room. In less than a minute, the two of them arrived at an open area. When they reached this area, the strange thing was that the monsters did not continue to chase after them. Instead, they turned around and retreated. What's going on? Aggro shouldn't disappear in the instant's dungeon. Wuxia was a little surprised. Looking at the empty space in front of him, there was a crystal ball floating there. Big Brother Kwang, this dungeon is a little strange. Be careful. Wuxia nodded and slowly walked in front of the crystal ball. An image was displayed in the crystal ball. Seeing the contents of the image, Wuxia's heart tightened. Shuangling noticed that something was wrong with Wuxia and hurriedly followed him. When she looked at the crystal ball, her eyes were filled with fear. She covered her mouth with one hand, afraid that she would scream. In the image, Wuxia was still in his evil child form. At this time, he was covered in blood and collapsed on a rock wall. Opposite him, Lunar Nether Glow stood proudly, looking down at the dying Wuxia with the attitude of a victor. What is this? From the surrounding flowers and plants, an old woman with a snake's tail slowly walked out. This is your ending. Wuxia and Shuangling looked at the old woman's snake in shock. Her name was above her head. Celestial Clan Widow, level 400 Celestial Clan Descendant Boss. You're the boss of the Wildlands? Don't think that you can confuse us with a crystal ball. Big Brother Kwang won't end up like this. Shuangling acted out of character. I won't allow this to happen. Although Shuangling was very angry from her words, it seemed that she somewhat agreed with this result from the side. The Celestial Clan Widow smiled. The wrinkles on her face were squeezed together. Even her green eyes couldn't be seen clearly. Little girl, why are you so agitated? I think you should know better than me. We're both prophets. It's just that you've changed your class to an elementalist, and I've become an oracle. Oracle? Lu Chen frowned and looked at Shuang Ling. There's such a branch of prophets? Shuang Ling, what's going on? Tell me. Shuang Ling's eyes were red, and a cold aura surged out of her body. She seemed to have lost control of her emotions. Shuang Ling. Shuang Ling took a deep breath and lowered her head. Oracle is an extremely rare class among prophets, because they don't have any fighting ability. In the Jiutian, unless they have the support of a powerful force, no one would be willing to become an oracle. However, they seem to be able to sense God's will in advance. The oracle's prophecies have never been wrong. At this point, Lu Chen already understood. The celestial clan widow had predicted that he would die at the hands of extreme nether glow. Then he would definitely die at the hands of extreme nether glow. No wonder Shuang Ling was so agitated from the beginning. She couldn't accept this result. Should I call you solipsistic, Black Bolton, or Lu Chen? The celestial clan widow looked at Lu Chen with interest. You didn't expect that after so much effort, your result would be no different from the king of monsters, right? However, unexpectedly, Lu Chen only smiled. You can call me anything you want. It's not important. However, if you think that your prophecy can make me cower, I'm afraid your wish will fail. The celestial clan widow looked at Lu Chen with a slightly different gaze. So you don't believe in my prophecy? Lu Chen coldly said. My life is in my own hands. Shuang Ling suddenly raised her head and looked at the man beside her. Along the way, she had seen Lu Chen's exaggerated strength. She also knew that Lu Chen had another identity that he had never mentioned to outsiders. It wasn't hard to imagine that Lu Chen had relied on that little bit of advantage back then to walk step by step until today. However, it wasn't until now that Shuang Ling suddenly realized that what supported Lu Chen to become a powerhouse wasn't just his opportunities. More importantly, it was his willpower, a willpower that bordered on stubbornness. So, am I going to kill you now? Lu Chen changed the topic. Otherwise, this dungeon won't drop anything. It wasn't easy to get the dungeon key. At least give me an immortal weapon. The celestial clan widow couldn't help but be stunned. This guy had completely ignored her prophecy. He was even thinking about what good things the Wildlands dungeon would drop. Chapter 677. You want to kill me? I am an oracle. How many people are begging me to divine their fortunes? You actually want to kill me for equipment. Lu Chen frowned. But you are a dungeon boss. I can predict the future. As long as you beg me, I can divine your fortune. Don't beg. This should be a hidden dungeon. The items dropped will not be bad. My mission is to tell you your ending. No, your mission is to drop equipment. The god race remnant almost vomited blood. Why did she meet such a one-track-minded person today? After saying that, Lu Chen actually activated demon god symbiosis. 3 lives reincarnation. The god race remnant was scared silly. What are you doing? Quickly deactivate the state. Stop. I will divine 2 fortunes for you. You should know how difficult it is to meet an oracle. How many people are begging me to divine their fortunes? You don't come over. Oracles basically did not know any fighting skills. In the end, Lu Chen directly activated 3 lives reincarnation. The result was not suspenseful at all. A fierce tiger descends the mountain and directly killed her. You are really ruthless. Lu Chen put away the teasing expression from before, and his face was gloomy. Oracle, since you can predict the future, have you not divined that you will die here? That is why you cannot predict the future. Shuang Ling, who was standing at the side, suddenly realized that Lu Chen's goal in killing the god race's remnant old lady wasn't to get any treasures from her. He wanted to destroy the prophecy, killed the god race remnant oracle, captured 300,000 spiritual energy, obtained rank 3 talent fragment, obtained rank 3 evolution points, obtained oracle crystal ball celestial prophecy ball. A celestial prophecy ball dropped. It did not match Lu Chen at all. It did not even increase his attributes. It seems that the god race remnant was not for farming. Lu Chen immediately drew out his limitless sword. Here, I got you some rations. Brother Kuang. Shuang Ling wanted to say something but hesitated. Lu Chen saw what she wanted to say and said, Shuang Ling, don't think too much. In 3 months, I will fight with the lunar nether glow. Regardless of life or death, I will not regret it. The most important right of a person is to choose. This was what Mu Xian had told Lu Chen, and he had always kept it in his heart. Following the death of the old lady of the gods, the Wildlands instance dungeon began to falter. Lu Chen glanced at the instance dungeon. Logically speaking, the Wildlands instance dungeon was an extremely rare instance dungeon. Although the items obtained from it were not as good as the Heaven's Punisher Tower or the Dragon's Necropolis, it should not be too bad. In fact, the fact that the old lady of the Protoss could predict Lu Chen's future was a rare reward in itself. However, Lu Chen had completely ignored the so-called prophecy. However, Lu Chen also understood one thing. The current him was still unable to guarantee victory. The battle with the lunar nether glow would be extremely dangerous. After coming out of the wilderness, Lu Chen deliberately stayed for a few days to go to the Saintis tribe. The Saintis tribe was now the strongest force in the Wildlands. When Lu Chen arrived at the Saintis tribe, the Saintis personally led people to greet him. Solipsistic, you are finally here. Lu Chen nodded and followed the Saintis and the others to the meeting hall. The Saintis briefly introduced the dozen or so elders present. These people were the top powerhouses of the Saintis tribe. It could be said that they were the top powerhouses in the Wildlands. However, in front of these people, Lu Chen and Shuang Ling's momentum was not weak. I didn't expect that in just 9 months, you and Shuang Ling would become the most famous people in the Wildlands. One is the famous Mad God, and the other is the rising Ice Queen of the Frost clan. The Saintess smiled. The two of you will definitely break the pattern of the Wildlands in the future. Lu Chen smiled. Saintess, don't test us. You know that I won't stay in the Wildlands for long, and I have no intention of participating in the struggle between your forces. Let's talk about our deal. What do I have to do to get rid of your curse? Also, are you sure you can obtain the thing I want? The Saintess took off her veil and raised her hand slightly. Immediately, a maid brought a wooden box. The maid carefully opened the wooden box. Inside was a strangely shaped piece of metal. Seeing this piece of metal, Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. This thing was the fragment of the demonic god's lotus heart. The Saintess tribe was indeed strong. They had actually obtained the fragment of the demonic god's lotus heart. What surprised Lu Chen even more was that the Saintess gave the maid a look and directly placed the fragment in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen frowned and looked at the Saintess strangely. You are. The Saintess smiled. Solipsistic. It has been almost 10 months since you participated in the Beast Trap Arena. In these 10 months, I naturally observed your character. After such a long period of observation, I believe that you are a trustworthy person. So I can give you the lotus heart first. I also believe that you will do your best to help us remove the curse. But what if I fail? I will still give you the item. Just treat it as my Saintess tribe trying to win you over. Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. You are already so direct with your words? However, I will give you the spirit stones at the end. If you die there, won't I lose 5 million spirit stones for nothing? There was nothing wrong with this. Lu Chen also felt comfortable doing business with a straightforward person. I will take the lotus heart first. Prepare the money. Now let's talk about what I want to do. After the Saintess introduction, Lu Chen understood the whole story. In the past, the Aragami used the lives of the first Saintess tribe as a threat to take the first Saintess. However, he also knew the relationship between the first Saintess and the Lochwater. In fact, most of the Aragami's partners were women who were snatched by such despicable means. In order to prevent them from escaping and being rescued, the Aragami put a curse on all his women. And this curse had been with the natives for generations, continuing to this day. The Aragami's curse is very strong. If it was in the past, you wouldn't have a chance to break it. However, after thousands of years, the effect of the curse on our bodies has already become as strong as before. We can even leave the barbarian land for 10 days without dying. Have you tested it? The Saintess nodded. We long for freedom. Every 100 years, we choose a few warriors to test the effect of the curse. Luchin nodded. Testing the effect of the curse with their lives was cruel, but there was nothing he could do. After being trapped in the barbarian land for thousands of years, they could only look at the Tower of Babel not far away and sigh. What kind of feeling was that? Perhaps only they could understand it. To break the curse, we need to enter the Aragami's ruins. There is a cauldron inside. As long as we can refine the antidote, we can break the curse. So simple? How many star alchemists do we need to refine the antidote? We need 107 8-star alchemists and 1 9-star alchemist. Our tribes have been waiting for this day. Every tribe has their own alchemists. It's just that the king of monsters killed some of our alchemists, so we have to temporarily replace them. Unfortunately, we can still find 8-star alchemists, but 9-star alchemists. So, if Miss Green is willing to help, we will add 2 million spirit stones as a reward. Luchin almost vomited blood. Little Green helped him earn 2 million spirit stones? It was too easy for alchemists to make money. Chapter 678. But the carefree pill is an immortal level pill. When refining the pill, there is a chance that the curse backlash will occur. Our bloodline is already cursed, so we can't withstand the curse backlash. The Saintess finally got to the point. Luchin asked, "What's the curse backlash?" The curse in our body will suddenly return to its peak state. If we take half a step out of the wildlands, we will immediately die. Luchin frowned slightly. Then it's fine as long as you don't leave the wildlands. The desolate god ruins are just outside the wildlands. The medicine cauldron cannot be moved. If you want to obtain the antidote, you must refine it outside the wildlands. Luchin was secretly shocked. This desolate god was really vicious. The place where the antidote was refined was just outside the desolate land. However, the people who were cursed could only look at it and not refine it. This was really killing people. What about the 107 8-star alchemists? Won't they go with us to the desolate god ruins? In fact, there are 200 of them. If someone can't hold on, there will be others to replace them. We have already arranged their funerals with the highest standards of the tribe and treated their descendants well. Saying this, the Saintess's bright eyes dimmed. Luchin immediately understood. It turned out that the 200 people did not fear the curse, but because they did not plan to come back alive. The number of 8-star alchemists in the fourth heaven domain was extremely small. Cultivating an 8-star alchemist required a lot of manpower, material, and financial resources. In the end, the Aboriginal tribe gathered 107 8-star alchemists to die. It seemed that they had no other choice. In addition, when the carefree pill is refined, it may cause a vision of heaven and earth, or even a hibernating strange creature will appear. In short, no one can guarantee what you will encounter. At this time, you need to protect the pill and return to the wildlands. As long as you come back, we will take care of the rest. Luchin nodded. This mission was more or less clear. He was a bodyguard. The topic was a bit heavy. Losing 200 8-star alchemists was an unimaginable loss for any force. However, this was the Aboriginal tribe's decision. This was their choice, and Luchin could only choose to respect it. When will it start? 7 days later. Okay, then I will rest for a while. I will come back when the time comes. Luchin had been in the wildlands for 10 months. During these 10 months, Solipsistic had been hunted down as a traitor of the human race. In the past 10 months, the Earth players had successfully defeated Stage 2 realm bosses, and a large number of them had entered Stage 3. In the current Third Celestial Realm, the status of the human race was completely different from 3 years ago. The human race occupied 1/10 of the territory of the Third Celestial Realm. Because of the protection of the suboriginator, all the races still thought that the Solipsistic was still in the Third Celestial Realm. In these 3 years, the human race had obtained a large amount of cultivation resources, and their strength had also been steadily increasing. Right now, the status of the human race was slowly being consolidated. When the players from Earth reached the third heaven, the most common question they heard was, "Are you from Earth? Do you know Solipsistic? You guys are really lucky." It was the Solipsistic that changed the current situation of the third heaven. If you guys came here in the past, I'm afraid you guys would have to suffer. The major forces were also very hospitable to the players from Earth. Some cities even opened their leveling areas to the players from Earth for free. On the Earth forums, the players discussed their situation in the third heaven in full swing. When I said that I was from Earth, my team's leader immediately brought me to his side. What's the big deal? The other human girls would look at me a few times, as if they thought that we were very strong. The Mad God is the Mad God after all. Have you guys heard of the Mad God's deeds? He single-handedly defeated the masters of all races. I really admire him more and more. The Mad God will always be a god. Seeing so many comments on the internet, Lin Hai smiled and shook his head. They still didn't know that the person living in the 5 main cities wasn't the Mad God himself. Chief, the first batch of Wuxia players who exchanged for the attribute test have all arrived, his subordinate reported. Okay, let them test it. After the test, the physical abilities of these players, who exchanged for the attribute test, were far superior to that of ordinary people. The results were almost the same as Lu Chen's test results. Lin Hai took a deep breath. The human race is really going to usher in a stormy revolution. What's the internet saying now? Chief, the news can't be kept under wraps anymore. Almost all the players are desperately leveling up and increasing their strength. According to Tianqing's data, the average time of players online has exceeded 17 hours. 17 hours. That's ridiculous. Yes, in the third heaven, the game and the display are very synchronized. Some people can even stay online for a few days, just to get more military points to exchange for pills to increase their strength. The quartermaster has pills that add 10 points to one's attributes. We're rushing to stock them up. What about the guide plan? Lin Hai asked. We've gathered a large amount of resources and focused on nurturing 100 of the strongest players. They've already entered the fourth heaven with a few guides. However, the fourth heaven contribution is harder to get. We need to exchange for it. Lin Hai nodded. Very good. The guide is right. With the appearance of these pills, the advantage of having a large number of players on Earth can finally be seen. I believe that soon we'll truly rise. Oh right, where's Lu Chen? Didn't he go to the fourth heaven to help us? No, Lu Yi is also on the fourth heaven list. Logically speaking, he should go back to help. But he seems to be wanted by the fourth heaven human race. Ah, was he wanted again? This guy, why is he being wanted for the slightest thing? Can't he be more honest? Chief, the specific situation is a bit hard to explain. In fact, it's because the 8 divisions of the fourth heaven human race's immortal army fought to recruit him, but he refused to join. He even escaped from prison with a wanted demon, so. Lin Hai shook his head and let out a long sigh. This guy, he's not Lu Chen if he doesn't cause trouble. Oh right, Chief, there's news that he recently appeared in the Wildlands and made a name for himself a few times. Lin Hai frowned. The Wildlands, that's the Wildlands. No matter how well he's doing there, the natives there can't help him. They can't leave the Wildlands. He's still a traitor to the human race. I don't know how he's going to clear his name. Chief, based on Mad God's personality, he might not even want to clear his name. No, he will, Lin Hai said with certainty. I know him. Although he seems to be doing things his own way, he's most worried about Lu Yi. Not to mention the impact of his crime on the players on Earth. Even if it's for Lu Yi, he'll still clear his name. Now we'll have to see how he's going to turn things around. Pay close attention to Lu Chen's situation. If anything happens, inform me immediately. This guy is really troublesome. With that, Lin Hai put on the game helmet. Aya, when can I reach the third heaven? This subordinate was also speechless. Now, even the chief was looking forward to entering the third heaven, let alone the others. A new era had begun on Earth. Chapter 679. 7 days later, hundreds of thousands of people gathered near the northernmost border of the Wildlands. However, they were like a line of coastline, not daring to cross the border. This was the first time Lu Chen knew that there were so many natives in the Wildlands. Solipsistic, are you ready? The Saintess was the representative in charge of communicating with Lu Chen. Today, he looked a little nervous. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at the 208-star alchemists. At this time, they were saying goodbye to their families. The family members held back their tears. The children's naive questions made Lu Chen's heart ache. At this time, he seemed to think of his parents. Maybe they still didn't know why their parents abandoned them. Only when they grew up would they know how great their parents were. Give them a little more time. Shuangling couldn't help but say. The saintess sighed and nodded. She quietly waited for the 8-star alchemists to say goodbye to their families. 10 minutes later, the 8-star alchemist representative walked in front of Lu Chen. Mr. Solipsistic, Miss Lu, this time I'll leave it to you. Lu Chen looked at the hundreds of thousands of people behind him. Everyone's eyes were burning with anticipation. After being cursed for thousands of years, today's mission was too important for them. Lu Chen nodded. I'll do my best. Okay then, Solipsistic, I'll accompany you, the saintess said. These 204 alchemists stepped out of the wildlands under the watchful eyes of hundreds of thousands of people. Less than 1,000 meters away from the boundary of the wildlands, there was a stone house sitting there all by itself. There was a huge circular array on the ground around the stone house. There were a total of 107 array eyes on the array. At this time, 107 8-star alchemists were standing at their designated array eyes. The others stood behind them, ready to replace them at any time. Lu Yi's position was in the center of the array, which was inside the stone house. The saintess opened the door, and Lu Chen, Shuangling, and Lu Yi followed her into the room. In the middle of the room, there was a huge round-bellied copper cauldron. It was so big that even 10 grown men wouldn't be able to wrap their arms around it. Above the copper cauldron, there were 12 medicinal herbs floating. Lu Yi recognized these herbs at a glance. They were the ingredients for the carefree pill. Have these herbs always been stored here? Lu Yi asked curiously. No, these herbs are from our family tree that has been passed down from generation to generation. In total, we can refine 4 carefree pellets. Of course, the success rate of refining the carefree pellet is only 30%. So 4 portions may not necessarily be enough. However, these herbs are too difficult to find, so we can only find this much. Miss Lu, there are rules when looking for someone to refine pills. We will provide enough materials. If you can refine the pills in one go, then the remaining materials will be yours. After that, the 2 million spirit stones will not be less. Please rest assured. Lu Yi said embarrassedly. There's no need. After all, this is a joint alchemy. I can't take all the credit of the 108 alchemists outside. The saintess smiled. I know a thing or two about alchemy. Whether or not the pill can be formed depends on this 9-star alchemist, that is Miss LV. Besides, I've already promised their families their rewards. Lu Chen suddenly asked. If only one pill is refined, how will you distribute it? The saintess said. The desolate god's curse has been around for thousands of years. At this time, the effect is not very strong. When the time comes, we will use a method to strengthen the curse and transfer the curse from our clansmen to a single person for a short period of time. As long as that person takes the carefree pill during the period when the curse is strengthened, the curse will return to everyone's body, and everyone's curse will naturally be lifted. Lu Chen suddenly understood. He didn't expect that they would use an array formation to strengthen the curse to remove the curse. It seemed that they had indeed thought of many ways to remove the curse over the years. So that person is you? The saintess smiled, tacitly agreeing. Well, it seems that you have already thought of a countermeasure. I was overthinking it. Lu Chen stretched his arms and legs. I just need to do my own thing. Little Green, get ready to start. Try to earn some materials from them. Lu Yi smiled. Boss, I will work hard. The joint alchemy had officially begun. At this time, the saintess had to return to the wildlands and wait anxiously. Lu Chen and Shuangling stood at the door of the stone house, guarding the pill furnace. 107 8-star alchemists sat cross-legged at the same time. The spirit cores in their bodies revolved at high speed. Green spiritual energy flowed along the lines of the array formation, flowing towards the center of the array formation where Lu Yi was. The entire array formation seemed to have been activated by this spiritual energy, and the special runes on it lit up one after another. The entire array formation emitted a faint green light, and the green light soared into the sky. It was Lu Chen's first time seeing such a large-scale array of alchemy. He couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. I didn't expect that refining an immortal pill would require such a terrifying power. Even if it was a life profession, after reaching a high star level, it could also exceed people's imagination. The array gathered the spiritual energy of all the alchemists and poured it into Lu Yi's body. At this time, Lu Yi's body slowly floated up. Her veil fluttered without wind, and her long hair fluttered, making her look like a fairy. Open the cauldron. With a clang, the lid of the cauldron opened by itself. Start the fire. Lu Yi raised one hand, and a flame ignited under the cauldron, gradually burning brighter and brighter. Heavenly daylily grass, earthlingji mushroom, gu king's feeler, heart-dispersing golden leaf, dragon heart silk, heavenly rain rootless water. Take a portion of each, and put the herbs into the cauldron. 12 precious herbs, and the rootless water, were put into the cauldron. Seal the cauldron. The lid of the cauldron was closed again. The refining process of the carefree pill was several times more complicated than that of the immortal pill. Speaking of which, the immortal pill added 1,000 spiritual energy, but the carefree pill could remove the rage god's curse. It was obvious which was stronger and which was weaker. Even among the 9th grade pills, the grade of the carefree pill was definitely much higher than the immortal pill. When the herbs were put into the cauldron and Lu Yi began refining, Lu Chen noticed that the faces of the 8-star alchemists had turned pale. The backlash of the curse has appeared. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Shuang Ling's expression was grave. It's just the beginning. And there's already such a strong backlash of the curse. I don't know if those people can withstand it. Lu Chen turned his head to look at Lu Yi. Fortunately, Little Green hadn't shown any symptoms yet. The saintess hadn't lied to him. Only outsiders could help them remove the curse. The flame under the cauldron burned brighter and brighter. Lu Yi's eyes were slightly closed, and her forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. It seemed that she had consumed a lot of energy. Even with the help of 107 8-star alchemists, it was still so difficult. It was obvious how difficult this refining process was. At this moment, an old man in the distance suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body twitched, and white foam came out of his mouth. His eyes rolled back. Are these the symptoms of the curse? Lu Chen shook his head slightly. The rage god is so vicious to his own descendants. After the old man's curse symptoms erupted, the entire array dimmed. The alchemists behind him hurriedly dragged the old man away, and sat cross-legged on the array core. Before he could grieve, he had already taken the old man's place. Only then could the array return to normal. Chapter 680. One by one, the 8-star alchemists collapsed. Their symptoms were almost the same. Their bodies twitched violently before they fainted. They probably wouldn't survive. The substitute alchemists didn't have time to deal with the corpses. They immediately pulled them behind their backs and substituted themselves to ensure that the array could operate normally. Half an hour later, there were no more substitutes. At this time, another 200 to 300 people walked out from the army of natives. The saintess and the others probably didn't expect the curse to backfire so fiercely. They're sending more people now, Shuangling said. If this pill can't be formed, I'm afraid the natives won't be able to hold on until the next pill. Lu Chen sighed and didn't look at those people anymore. Lu Yi had now entered a critical moment. Beads of sweat rolled down her forehead. She was completely focused. She should have entered the pill formation stage. I believe in her. She can definitely form the pill. Lu Chen said firmly. The belly of the cauldron had been roasted red by the flames. Waves of medicinal fragrance wafted from the cauldron, making one feel relaxed and happy. Lu Chen didn't know when, but he discovered that the sky above his head had been covered by thick black clouds. A bolt of lightning tore through the sky. Rumble. The sound of thunder was deafening. The thick clouds were blasted apart by this bolt of lightning. Something could be faintly seen rolling in the clouds. Is this a phenomenon of heaven and earth? There seems to be something moving in the clouds. Lu Chen wasn't sure. He hurriedly looked back at Shuangling. Not long after, Lu Yi lifted the lid of the cauldron with one hand. A green pill rose from the cauldron. It was dark green in color, and there was a faint green mist on its body. The pill aura is full. Big brother Kwang, the pill is formed. Big sister Green has formed the pill in one go, and the quality is so high that it triggered a phenomenon of heaven and earth. Lu Chen took a deep breath. It was reasonable to say that the quality of a pill was related to the quantity of ingredients. Above the 3rd grade, additional ingredients should be added. But this time, Little Green didn't add any more ingredients. The result was a high-grade immortal pill that triggered a phenomenon of heaven and earth. Not good. The higher the quality, the greater the risk of attracting foreign objects. I'm afraid that the thing in the clouds was attracted by this pill. Shuangling, take good care of Little Green. I'll escort the pills back. Lu Chen said hurriedly. All right. Lu Chen used the sandalwood incense box that the saintess had given him to store pills. After storing the carefree pill, he rushed out the door. Divine Demon Symbiosis. 3 reincarnations. Infinite triple door. With a heaven-shaking roar, a huge dragon rushed down from the clouds. Divine Beast Azure Dragon. Lu Chen was incomparably shocked in his heart. Could it be that he had directly attracted the Azure Dragon true body to snatch the medicinal pills? However, when Lu Chen took a closer look, the giant beast was not the ascending Azure Dragon's true form. Its body shape was similar to the Azure Dragon's. Its entire body was green, and it had thick dragon claws. However, it did not have dragon scales, and it had fins on its back. This was a characteristic that the Azure Dragon did not have. Chi Dragon. The Chi Dragon was said to be the second son of the dragon. It also had the bloodline of the dragon, but its strength could not be compared to the true dragon. The Chi Dragon opened its mouth and spat out a column of water. It was like a curtain of water falling from the sky, directly blocking Lu Chen's path. Even the triple door can't be passed through? Lu Chen was about to change directions and escape when the ground under his feet moved. Lu Chen hurriedly dodged. Half a second later, the ground he was standing on exploded, and a half-human, half-demon thing jumped out from the rock layer. The word Su Fei was written on its head. It wore a red robe and had a bull's nose. One of its feet was on the ground, and the other was hanging from its waist. You actually have a tier 6 immortal pill? Kid, hand over the medicinal pills, and I'll spare your life. Su Fei's voice made one's scalp tingle. Especially when one looked at his leg hanging from his waist. It made one feel even more horrified. Just as Su Fei's voice fell, a huge bull in the distance rushed over like a madman. It had destroyed half of a mountain demon's body. This bull's figure was similar to the Kuei bull that Lu Chen had encountered before. It was extremely thick and muscular. However, the Kuei bull was reddish-brown, while this guy was greenish-gray. Its head was smaller and white, and it only had one eye. It had a snake's tail and extremely exaggerated horns. Fei Fei was also one of the high-level beasts. Roar tier 6 immortal pill, I want it. There was constant movement in the surroundings, and it seemed like many more beasts were rushing over. Lu Chen frowned deeply. Didn't they say that it was possible that some strange creatures would be attracted? How was that possible? In just a short while, 3 powerful beasts had appeared. Who knew how many more were chasing after them? How many more beasts of this level were hidden in the 4th heaven? Solipsistic, come over quickly. We've set up a defensive array. You'll be fine once you come in. The Holy Maiden shouted. At this time, the effect of the curse had not ended yet. The array was still emitting green light. As long as the Holy Maiden and the others came out, not to mention fighting, they would probably die outside soon. However, although the distance was only a few hundred meters, there was a water curtain blocking the way in front, and Su Fei and Fei Niu chasing after them. It would be difficult for Lu Chen to go over. Although these beasts were not as strong as the 4 divine beasts, they were far from ordinary beasts. If they were delayed here for a second, more high-level beasts would come out. Even if it was Lu Chen, he would not be able to escape. Break the water curtain first. At this critical moment, Lu Chen's brain was operating at high speed. He had to succeed in one strike. He could not give the hornless dragon a chance to react. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Holy Maiden, give me attributes. Lu Chen shouted. Worship the heavens. Defying the heavens. Double Heaven's Might was activated at the same time. Lu Chen quickly took away 2 of the indigenous attributes. This is his innate godly might skill. Quick, give him the attributes. Damn, there's such a godly might skill? But how many attributes can I take? Can he come over? Just as Lu Chen activated 2 Heaven's Might skills, a whirlwind directly hit Lu Chen and threw him far away. Lu Chen stabilized his body with great difficulty and found that he was already 300 to 400 meters away from the wilderness. The person who attacked was a bird-headed man with a pair of wings on his back and a long spear in his hand. This person should be an expert from some rare race. He actually came to snatch the immortal pill. Wanna go back? Hand over the Tier 6 immortal pill, and I'll let you live. This person spoke more clearly than Su Fei. In this half-a-second delay, all kinds of beasts rushed out from the surroundings. Many of them were high-level beasts that Lu Chen recognized. They were all here for the Tier 6 immortal pill. Lu Chen was also depressed. How could Little Green refine a Tier 6 immortal pill in such a short time? If the quality was lower, it would not be so popular. At this point, his plan to kill the hornless dragon and escape back to the wilderness was likely to fail. Now Lu Chen was surrounded by many beasts. At this moment, the aboriginals were all burning with anxiety, but they hated that they couldn't leave the wildlands even by half a step. The Holy Maiden suddenly said to the people behind her, Everyone, our fate is now in the hands of the solipsistic. If he can't make it over, even if we have to pay with our lives, we must obtain the unfettered pill. Understood, we will immediately organize the death troops. We must bring the solipsistic back. Chapter 681. At this time, Lu Chen had already activated the Double Heaven's Wrath. His previous plan had been disrupted by the newly arrived exotic beasts. Now he could only fight. Shuang Ling was rushing to the border of the wildlands with the weak Little Green. When she saw that Lu Chen was in danger, she hesitated to come and help Lu Chen. Shuang Ling, don't worry about me. Make sure Little Green is safe first. Lu Chen shouted. After Shuang Ling heard him, she could only grit her teeth and send Little Green to the wildlands as soon as possible. Miss Green, Miss Shuang Ling, thank you for your hard work. The Saintess hurriedly took Lu Yi. At this moment, Lu Chen was surrounded by more and more exotic beasts. There were 30 to 40 exotic beasts around him, as well as those experts who usually did not show up. They all wanted to snatch the grade 6 elixir in his hands. Without waiting for Shuang Ling's help, the other side had already started. Kill him. The elixir belongs to the capable. Among those huge bodies, Lu Chen was as small as an ant. He was surrounded by the crowd and was quickly drowned out, disappearing from everyone's sight. Just as Shuang Ling's eyes were about to split open, and she was ready to fight to the death, a deafening roar suddenly erupted in the field. Suppressive fire. Tiger descends the mountain. Psionic space cannon. Lu Chen made his move. The spiritual god cannon in his hand was divided into 5 barrels, each of which fired a large number of psionic cannons. 50 powerful psionic cannons directly exploded in the field, and the powerful aftermath caused the ground to shake violently. -2 billion double critical hit. The power of one cannon directly reached a terrifying value of 2 billion. After the psionic space cannon was combined, its power was 800 times spiritual power. Lu Chen's current spiritual power was 1 million, so the damage of one cannon shot directly soared to 800 million. After deducting a small amount of spiritual power defense, it could still deal more than 700 million damage. This was not the most terrifying part of the psionic cannons. Now Lu Chen's psionic cannons could perfectly display the special effects of close-range combat. With a double critical hit, the damage soared to 2 billion. Among the many exotic beasts here, there was no lack of shields with extremely high durability. Even if Lu Chen didn't deal any critical hits, he could still deal over 700 million damage with a single shot. In most cases, even after deducting the opponent's critical hit resistance, Lu Chen could still deal double the critical hit effect. raising his damage to around 2 billion. A single shot of 2 billion would be useless, even if one had a shield. If it was a critical hit of 3 times, 4 times, or even 5 times, it was very likely that they would be insta-killed. In addition to critical hits, the spiritual space cannon also had special effects such as poison, silence, stun, mana burn, and so on. With these 50 shots, a few people were focused and a few people were killed. In the blink of an eye, a third of the opponents were killed. Some of those ferocious exotic beasts had already fallen to the ground after Lu Chen's discussion and attack, directly killed. The hundreds of thousands of natives who were watching the battle were all pale with fright. Oh my god, what kind of damage is this? 2 billion for one shot. And he can even fire dozens of them at once. Wouldn't that be hundreds of billions of damage? Look at his spiritual space cannon. It even has a melee effect. It still has such a high critical hit rate against these exotic beasts. This is unbelievable. Once hit, a lot of negative effects will appear on the body. I know Solipsistic is very strong, but I didn't know he was this strong. Is this still the damage of a stage 4? I didn't know that the damage of the spiritual space cannon could reach such a terrifying level. Shuangling also frowned. How did Brother Kuang's damage suddenly become so high? How did it suddenly reach 2 billion? In that case, Brother Kuang could insta-kill 10 bosses like the bloodthirsty Wolf King at once. 50 shots, even without critical hits, it's still a total of 40 billion damage. If it's a critical hit, the damage is even more terrifying. If it's a specific target, oh my god. Brother Kuang didn't use Void Shattering to shatter my territory, but he also held back on his attacks. The Saintess was shocked. Miss Shuangling, isn't Solipsistic good at melee combat? Why is he so good at using cannons? Oh, that's a skill he just learned. He did prefer melee combat in the past, Shuangling explained. This a skill he just learned? Oh my god. If I were him and knew that the spiritual space cannon had such a terrifying attack, I would definitely learn it first. Shuangling couldn't explain. After all, she didn't know that the spiritual space cannon's damage was calculated based on the spiritual energy value. In the past, Lu Chen's spiritual energy wasn't as terrifying as it was now. 1 billion spiritual energy value was already the upper limit of a stage 4. This was something that even the medicine boy had never heard of. The exotic beasts didn't expect this human to have such a terrifying burst of damage. Lu Chen looked at the remaining exotic beasts and snorted. What, you still want to snatch my things now? The hornless dragon growled. Kid, you actually have a high-grade heaven tier cultivation technique. But your attack is a spiritual attack, while the rest of us are immune to spiritual attacks. Your moves are useless against us. Call the wind and summon the rain, Milky Way's descent. Don't just watch the show. If we don't kill this person, it's the same as letting the tiger return to the mountain. Kill him first, then take his treasures. Su Tua let out a strange cry. Don't you know that I specialize in countering spiritual energy attacks? Soul-devouring domain. 30,000 ghost army. Suddenly, a cold wind whistled in the surroundings. Countless black ghosts let out eerie cries as they shuttled through the air, pouncing on Lu Chen. In the sky, a large amount of rain washed down. The Milky Way heavenly fall didn't seem to cause any damage, but Lu Chen knew that the water that could seal his movement skill definitely wasn't as simple as it looked. On the other hand, Lu Chen noticed that as long as Su Tuo's ghosts touched him, they would cause 30 to 40 million damage. At the same time, the ghosts would absorb the same amount of pure spiritual energy and return it to Su Tuo's body, restoring his HP and pure spiritual energy. Simply put, these ghosts could help Su Tuo absorb blood and mana. Within the multiple powerful domains, Lu Chen's spiritual energy value was crazily suppressed. Now it was only left with about 100,000. You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. You dare to steal my solipsistic things. You really don't know what's good for you. Lu Chen snorted coldly. Sorry, I don't just command spiritual energy attacks. Since you doubt me and want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. Chaos Domain. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice. Possession transformation, 3 heads 6 arms. Buddha body clone. Suddenly, Lu Chen split into 3. void shattering. The two clones attacked two people respectively, while Lu Chen's main body punched the sky. With a loud bang, the multiple domains were directly pierced through by the void shattering. 9 dragon pillars. Ghostly shadows descend. 8 desolates of heaven and earth. Since spiritual attacks were ineffective, then there was heavenly might attack. Lu Chen directly used 8 desolates of heaven and earth. After activating dual heavenly might, Lu Chen's spiritual energy didn't increase, but his 3 attributes had reached a terrifying level. 2 million attributes were all added to strength. Lu Chen's attack had already exceeded 4 million. Actually, the saint was right. Compared to long-range attacks, Lu Chen still preferred close combat. Die for me! Lu Chen roared, turned into a black shadow, and crazily shuttled through the many exotic beasts. Chapter 682. However, even though Lu Chen's powerful attacks had defeated many strong enemies, the number of enemies surrounding him did not decrease. Instead, it increased. A large number of ultra beasts were still rushing over. You human, if I don't kill you today, there will be trouble in the future. Lu Chen's attack was high, but his HP was still around 50 million. After activating the 3 lives reincarnation, Lu Chen retained his last 5,000 HP. It was not that he did not want to continue reducing his HP to increase his attack, but these guys' attacks were too high. They could easily reach tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions. If he did not keep 50 million HP, he might be killed at any time. In other words, these strong enemies could take Lu Chen's life in one move. At this time, the falling water lotus began to twist crazily. To avoid the Milky Way descent and the army of 30,000, Lu Chen could not afford to make any mistakes. Solipsistic, you must hold on. The saintess was so nervous that she clasped her hands in front of her chest. I'm counting on you. Little Green was even more anxious. Miss Shuangling, quickly go and help boss. However, as soon as Shuangling rushed out, she was immediately surrounded by a group of ultra beasts and fell into a difficult battle. These ultra beasts also knew that they could not let others help the kid, or else it would be even more difficult to obtain the elixir. In the chaotic battle, Lu Chen successively used Buddha saves all lives and Xiaomin's possession, giving him 2 chances to save his life. Not good. Solipsistic seems to be unable to hold on. Saintess, let's charge. The saintess took a deep breath. They had just lost 348 star alchemists, which was an extremely painful loss for the entire tribe. However, they would lose even more super experts next. However, she was afraid that even so, they still could not save Lu Chen. Saintess, we can only give it our all now. The saintess frowned and nodded heavily, as if she had made up her mind. Prepare to support Solipsistic. At this time on the battlefield, Lu Chen was once again attacked by 3 ghostly figures. This time, he activated his last life-saving skill. Celestial Demon Origin Enchantment. 15 seconds of invincibility. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice. You guys are really pushing your luck. Today I'll kill whoever blocks my way. 9 void steps. Chaos attack switch. Infinite 3000 body flash slash. Lu Chen was enraged and finally used his killer move. His figure jumped rapidly among the enemies, and a large number of damage values jumped out one after another. A primal chaos attack. This was an attack that could not be resisted. When Lu Chen used this move, all spiritual immunity and physical immunity were useless. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen had already carved out a bloody path. 9 void steps. Lu Chen rushed to Shuangling's side. With the 2 of them working together, the surrounding beasts were naturally unable to trap them. Lu Chen pulled Shuangling and took 9 steps in the air, rushing towards the saintess and the others. Behind the 2 of them, a large number of pursuers swarmed over. Don't let them in. The Aragami's protective barrier is there. Lu Chen pursed his lips and snorted. Chase me? Spiritual energy storm. Shuangling, help me. Shuangling was also very smart. At this distance, the best way to stop the enemy was naturally to use the psionic space cannon. However, among the remaining enemies, many were spiritual immunity and were not afraid of Lu Chen's spiritual attack. How to deal with it? With Shuang Ling, the method couldn't be simpler. Enchantment, ice weapon. Lu Chen smiled slightly. This girl really had a tacit understanding with him. Lu Chen's psionic space cannon was quickly covered with a layer of ice, and the muzzle slowly emitted cold air. Well done. Tiger descends the mountain. Fire suppression. Switching from close range to long range, Lu Chen used these two forms to the extreme, and could adapt to the situation at any time. Boom 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 boom. A series of cannon blasts. When the powerhouses and beasts saw these cannonballs, they no longer dared to take them head-on, and avoided them. In these 1 or 2 seconds, Lu Chen had already rushed into the defensive array with Shuang Ling. As soon as he entered the safe area, Lu Chen almost lost his footing. Although the battle just now wasn't too long, the intensity of the battle was frightening. There wasn't the slightest pause for a second, and they were constantly in a high-intensity state of attack and defense. Moreover, facing the siege of these hidden powerhouses and high-level beasts, it was impossible for Lu Chen to not be hit at all. This battle had caused him to be injured repeatedly, and he had only been able to hold on until now by relying on life steal. If it weren't for his high attack power, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold on for so long. However, in the end, he still suffered serious physical injuries, and only escaped with Shuang Ling and the elixir with his last breath. Little Green hurriedly rushed over and hugged Lu Chen. Boss! Quick, someone come quickly! The Saintess also hurriedly ran over and asked anxiously, Solipsistic, are you okay? Lu Chen gasped for breath, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. He handed over a pill and said, Fortunately, fewer of you died. If you had gone out, you would have died without a doubt. Now you are free. After saying this, he fainted. At this time, the Saintess noticed that Lu Chen's body was covered in blood. In the battle just now, he had suffered so many injuries that it was impossible to count them. Those seemingly harmless water droplets would leave a hole if they splashed onto his body. Those wandering souls were extremely corrosive, and their skin would fester upon contact. Solipsistic relied on lifesteal to barely maintain his fighting strength, but his body was already riddled with holes. The Saintess trembled as she took the carefree pill. Her bright eyes were filled with tears as she couldn't bear to look at the unconscious Lu Chen. This guy said he would do his best, and he really did. In order to prevent more tribes from dying tragically, he took on everything by himself. Solipsistic. You're so stupid. Someone give me the best herbs. I want this person alive. Due to Lu Chen activating the dual heaven's wrath, the attributes of the hundreds of thousands of people in the tribe had plummeted, and this would last for 2 weeks. The curse-strengthening array had to be temporarily put aside. And now, the leaders of the native tribes in the wildlands were gathered at the Saintess tribe, waiting for this person to wake up. Saintess, although we only had a deal with Solipsistic, I really didn't expect him to go to this extent. Yes, at that time, I thought we couldn't keep the immortal pill. If he hadn't risked his life to protect it, we wouldn't have been able to get the carefree pill. I don't care about the deal. Our Kazan tribe will remember this kindness in our hearts. Yes, now we can only hope that Solipsistic can wake up. After everyone said so much, the Saintess also stood up and sighed. The battle at that time was far beyond our imagination. It was a miracle that that guy could hold on until the end. If it were anyone else, we wouldn't have been able to get the carefree pill. The deal was good, but I saw in Solipsistic's eyes that he valued friendship and righteousness. I saw that he sympathized with the natives of our tribe from the bottom of his heart. Although I don't like to be sympathized with, that guy really moved me. Everyone don't worry. I will provide him with the best herbs and the best alchemist. It was a bit embarrassing to say, but it turned out that the best herbs were cultivated by the alchemy apprentices, and the best alchemist was obviously Lu Chen's Lu Yi. The herbs sent by the Saintess tribe were all said to be worthless by the alchemy apprentices. Do you even know how to cultivate herbs? There's obviously a problem with the cultivation environment of this earth-fire lotus. If you use this to refine pills, the effect will be reduced by at least 30%. Xiao Kuang's body will be scarred. There's also this daffodil 100 leaves. The size of the leaves is uneven, so it'll be very difficult to absorb. Sir, these are all naturally grown. We're only responsible for looking after the herbs, so we don't know much about them. The alchemy apprentice said, trembling with fear. Forget it. Give it to me. I'll correct it. That guy, he's so desperate for someone who has nothing to do with him. He's really. Sigh. It seems that I'll have to cultivate more herbs. Chapter 683. Under the meticulous care of Little Green, Lu Chen recovered very quickly. 5 days later, he was completely healed. However, he was still a little tired, and was resting in his room. The Saintess had already given the remaining 7 million spirit stones to Lu Yi. Such a large sum of money, even for the Saintess tribe, which had been rooted in the wildlands for many years, it was still a large expenditure. Lu Chen once again jumped from a pauper to a rich man. Finally, I don't have to worry about spirit stones anymore. Lu Chen shook his head. Near noon, the Saintess brought 2 elders to Lu Chen's room to inquire about Lu Chen's situation. After learning that Lu Chen had recovered, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Solipsistic, I found that your greatest wealth is the green lady beside you, Pearl Hair Clip said. Lu Chen smiled. Right, where are you going after this? The Saintess suddenly asked. Lu Chen didn't even think about it and said, I'm leaving the wildlands this afternoon to look for the fragments of the demon god's lotus heart. There were still 3 months before the decisive battle with the extreme nether glow. Lu Chen's attack was indeed very strong, but the problem was that the extreme nether glow's body didn't seem to be affected by any attacks. Moreover, Lu Chen didn't think of a way to break the star annihilation. To change the oracle's prophecy, relying on his current strength was not enough. The Saintess nodded. She wasn't surprised that Lu Chen wanted to leave. Solipsistic, you are now a wanted criminal of the human race. And to the other races, you are also a human. Therefore, when you return to the war zone, everyone will be your enemy. Enemy? Lu Chen said with a smile. It doesn't matter. The Saintess's bright eyes turned slightly. What a good it doesn't matter. It really suits your character. However, if you can become friends, who would want to have an enemy? However, you are not without friends. We Aboriginals have 330,000 people. And we are your friends. Lu Chen slightly frowned and looked at the Saintess and the others strangely. Friends? Yes. You have given us the freedom that we have dreamed of for thousands of years. More importantly, you have also won the respect of all of us natives. Aren't we in a transactional relationship? Lu Chen asked. At the start it was just a deal. But when you risked your life to protect our hope, we knew that you weren't thinking about completing the deal. The Holy Maiden smiled. The Saintess was quite good at judging people. The first Saintess and Lung Shui Immortal Venerable had indirectly saved Shuangling. Therefore Lu Chen had some sympathy for the natives. Zhu Yi said, in that kind of situation, I don't believe that anyone could be brought back by the carefree pill. Solipsistic, the perseverance you displayed during the battle has already won our respect. The moment you brought back the carefree pill, you were already a friend to all of us indigenous people. The Saintess smiled at Lu Chen. Therefore, I suggest that you don't set off in a hurry. Wait for us to lift the curse, and we'll go with you. Ah! Lu Chen was astonished. The Saintess' eyes were filled with confidence and excitement. The strength of us natives is enough to show disdain for heroes in the 4th heavenly layer. Since you are our friend, being enemies with you is the same as being enemies with us. You don't need to do this. Our deal has already been completed. You don't owe me anything. Has the deal been completed? The Saintess smiled at Lu Chen. Back then, you wanted a fragment of the demonic god Lotus Heart. But you didn't say you only wanted one. Lu Chen couldn't believe his ears. The Saintess meant that she wanted to gather the strength of the natives to help him gather the fragments? Solipsistic, the extreme nether glow is very strong. I can see that the demonic god Lotus Heart is very important to you. Perhaps it is your only chance of victory. We won't watch our friend die like this. Lu Chen sucked in a deep breath. He had indeed placed a part of his hopes on the demonic god Lotus Heart. If the natives were willing to help him, he had no reason to refuse. I think that when the 9 great factions know that we natives have removed the curse, they will be willing to trade the fragment of the demonic god's lotus heart for a suitable price. After all, that thing is not of much use to them. The saint's tone carried an irrefutable momentum. If the other factions wanted to refuse, they would have to think twice. Lu Chen sucked in a deep breath. Then I'll have to thank you. Halbert smiled. It's rare to hear solipsistic say thank you. The saint's eyes were full of smiles. It seemed she supported this statement. Oh, that's right. Lone tyrant. You can leave the rest of the demonic god's lotus heart fragments to us. However, I'm afraid that you'll have to deal with the humans yourself. We can't possibly attack the humans directly, right? I know that you're not a true traitor. Lu Chen nodded. I'll deal with them myself. 10 days later, the natives' weakened state had been lifted. After half a month of preparation, the curse-strengthening formation had been set up. All 330,000 natives participated in transferring the curse from their bodies to the saintess. The process lasted for an entire day. The formation lasted for over 3 hours before the curse was completely strengthened. Afterwards, the saintess swallowed a carefree pill. Little Green's carefree pill was of high quality, reaching the 6th grade. A 6th grade immortal pill that could attract countless beasts to fight over it naturally had some extraordinary aspects. The curse in the saintess' body was cleansed within 30 seconds. At the same time, her body produced antibodies. In the future, if she encountered any curse weaker than this one, she would be able to ignore it. It's actually so domineering. Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh as he watched from the side. Not only did it remove the curse, but it also strengthened her body and gave her immunity. A 6th grade immortal pill really is amazing. Little Green, don't we still have some materials left? If you're free, why don't you refine a few more? I want some too. Boss, that requires the formation's amplification. Without the formation, I can only refine a 5th grade immortal pill at most. There won't be any immunity, unless I become a 10-star alchemist. The next day, after the curse was removed, the natives once again activated the curse-strengthening formation. The saintess returned the cleansed blood to all the natives. When the natives realized that the curse in their bodies had finally disappeared, the scene went out of control. They cried tears of joy and hugged each other in celebration. We're free. We're finally free. We don't have to be bound to this desolate land anymore. We, the descendants of the Desolation God, are also qualified to explore this vast Jiutian. This is something that hasn't been realized for generations. I can't believe that this is happening to me. On that day, the saintess reorganized hundreds of native tribes, forming an army of 300,000. Together with Lu Chen, they left the place where they had lived for generations. The native army was temporarily stationed in Mercenary City. When this large group of experts appeared in Mercenary City, the entire Mercenary City was in an uproar. That's the natives of the desolate land? How is that possible? How could they leave the desolate land? Oh my God, so many natives? It's said that the natives have the bloodline of the Desolation God and are extremely powerful. The Desolation God race has come out of seclusion. Doesn't that mean that the power structure of the 4th heaven will be reshuffled? Chapter 684. In Mercenary City, Lu Chen temporarily separated from the saintess and went straight to the human camp. This time, Lu Chen did not bring Shuangling. After all, he was a wanted criminal of the human race. If Shuangling was with him, it would probably bring her trouble. In addition, he could not completely rely on the saintess for the demonic god Lotus Heart Fragment. Leaving Shuangling behind was a form of insurance for Lu Chen. After nearly a year, Lu Chen once again embarked on the journey to the human army. It was currently the season of autumn, and a large-scale battle was breaking out between the human and demon war zone. In the middle of the chaotic battle, 4 humans were besieging a demon powerhouse. Although that demon powerhouse was only a junior heavenly general, he was not at a disadvantage in a 1 versus 4 fight. He was even steadily suppressing the 4 of them. The surrounding 2 armies were in a chaotic battle. The human army was large in number. Although the demons were individually strong, Each of them had to fight one against many. After a long time, they would probably be defeated. Flame Demon, you assassinated the great heaven generals of the Four Seas expedition back then. Today, you've finally been caught by us. Surrender. A human woman shouted. Beside her was a huge black dragon. It was one of the four ultimate divine beasts, the adult form of the Black Flame Dragon Emperor. Beside her was a man with the purple star sword on his back. He stared at the Flame Demon. The Flame Demon snorted. With just the four of you. Forget it, I the Flame Demon do not kill humans. If you surrender, I will let you live. In the distance, Lu Chen recognized the three at a glance. The Flame Demon was a good brother, who had gone through life and death together. Among the four humans, two of them were Zhangko Yinran and Beishue Gufei. It's actually them? How did these two groups meet? Speaking of which, Yinran is already a junior heavenly general? Gufei is already a junior heavenly general. These two guys are doing well. He didn't know who the other two humans were, but with Lu Chen's understanding of them, he reckoned that the four of them weren't a match for the Flame Devil. The Flame Devil's demonic sky-searing soul array was too tyrannical. Dream on. Even if the Heavenly Emperor comes today, we will take you down. Zhangko Yinran was still that valiant girl. Her aura did not lose to the men present. Suddenly a voice sounded. I don't think the Heavenly Emperor will care about your life and death. However, for my sake, can you not fight this battle for now? As soon as they heard this voice, the people on the opposite side all looked towards the source of the sound in shock. Not far away, a man dressed in a bright red suit with a rhubarb dog by his side, and an old white book lying on the head of the rhubarb dog. He calmly crossed the battlefield and slowly walked towards them. The moment they saw this person, the 5 people present were all dumbfounded. Mad God! Old Kwang! The Flame Demon stopped fighting and ran towards Lu Chen, giving Lu Chen an extremely emotional hug. Fuck old Yen, it would be fine if you were a woman. But to do it in broad daylight, how mushy. Only then did the Flame Demon release Lu Chen and size up Lu Chen. After not seeing him for almost a year, Lu Chen's appearance did not change much. However, his eyebrows seemed to have become more stable. Good boy, you finally appeared. I thought you died in the wildlands. The Flame Demon punched Lu Chen's left shoulder. You're not dead yet. How can I bear to die? Lu Chen said with a smile. Sai, let the two of you stop fighting first. Generals of the demon race, retreat and form the 8 trigrams formation. The Flame Demon did not hesitate, and directly ordered the troops to be in a defensive state. Seeing this, Zhangko Yinran immediately gave the order. The humans, elves, and dwarves all retreated and formed the formation. The two armies were 20 to 30 meters apart, facing each other, but did not attack. At this time, many people's attention was on Lu Chen. Who is that guy? How did he stop the two armies with just one sentence? He looks familiar, but I can't remember. His relationship with the Flame Demon Young Sky General is not ordinary. Strange. As everyone knows, Lord Flame Demon has a close friend from the human race. Could it be? Zhangko Yinran and Gufei also quickly walked in front of Lu Chen. Mad God, you're finally back. The two were still wary of the Flame Demon, but they were also very worried about Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled. Sky General Gufei, Young Sky General Yinran, long time no see. Mad God, you're making fun of me. Yinran angrily glared at Lu Chen. Who doesn't know that you don't care about military ranks at all? Lu Chen laughed. I didn't mean to make fun of you. I'm just happy to see that you're doing well. Gufei smiled and shook his head. Don't give me that. If you entered the Immortal Army, you would have been a great Sky General. Hey Mad God, why are you back? The human race is still looking for you. When it came to business, Lu Chen stopped smiling. I came back this time to deal with this matter. I can't always be wanted. Ah, you still care about this? Zhangko Yinran asked curiously. I still have many compatriots who will come to the 4th layer of heaven. If I leave here with the crime of being judged, they will probably be discriminated against. Are you talking about compatriots from Earth? Actually, they are now. Gufei wanted to say something but stopped. Lu Chen frowned. What's wrong with them? That's not right. They shouldn't have come to the 4th layer of heaven so quickly. There's already a small group of people here. Zhangko Yinran said. It's only because of you that they're in a more miserable state. The great sky general of the Beastman race seems to be targeting them, making them enter the immortal army before they even graduate. Great sky general of the Beastman race. Lu Chen asked curiously. He didn't seem to know this person. Gu Fei added. Do you still remember the Beast Buddha? At the mention of the Beast Buddha, Lu Chen immediately understood. It was possible that the Beast Buddha was related to the Great Sky General. He killed the Beast Buddha and was taking revenge on his compatriots from Earth. If it wasn't for the Great Sky General's protection, your compatriots might have already died on the battlefield. Lu Chen frowned. He didn't expect that there were players from Earth who had already entered the fourth layer of heaven. Even more so, he didn't expect that during his absence, there were actually people targeting the players from Earth. Mad God, it's best if you don't enter the human camp now. You're still convicted of a serious crime. If you go back, I'm afraid you won't be able to come out. Yinran said. We still have the Great Sky General to think of a way to protect your compatriots. You should hurry and leave. Lu Chen snorted. I came back to solve this matter. There's no reason for me to leave. Old Flame, there's something I need your help with. What is it? As long as the Flame Demon can do it, I won't refuse. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. Tell the other 8 camps that in 2.5 months, I will be in the war zone. I will have a decisive battle with the Great Moon Shadow. What? You're saying you want to have a decisive battle with the Great Moon Shadow? The few of them were shocked. One had to know that no one had truly defeated the Great Moon Shadow. The so-called breakthrough to the fourth layer of heaven was only to obtain the recognition of the Great Moon Shadow. And a decisive battle meant a battle of life and death. What kind of existence was the Great Moon Shadow? There were hundreds of millions of people in the 9 camps, but none of them dared to move in the war zone at night. Why? Because of the Great Moon Shadow. If Lu Chen could defeat the Great Moon Shadow, it meant that he had more terrifying strength than the Great Moon Shadow. There was no need to doubt his deterrence. One person was enough to change the entire situation of the fourth layer of heaven. Yes, Lu Chen said firmly, the fourth layer of heaven should also change its appearance. Chapter 685. Now Gu Fei, you guys take me back. Lu Chen turned his head and said to Gu Fei. Take you back? Beishua Gu Fei was stunned, not knowing what to do. Lu Chen nodded and said with certainty. That's right, I'm a fugitive. Then I'll go back as a fugitive. I want to see what they're going to do to me if I say I don't want to join the immortal army. After a moment of silence, Yinran walked over. Are you prepared for the worst? Lu Chen sneered. The one who should be prepared for the worst is not me, but them. Lock me up. So many people saw me. If you don't lock me up, you won't be able to report back. Since Lu Chen had already decided, Yinran took out the shackles and locked Lu Chen's hands and feet. But when no one was looking, she secretly stuffed the key into Lu Chen's hand. What report back? Our goal is to catch up to you, not to become some great sky general. Lu Chen smiled. Yinran, this girl was still so competitive. Gu Fei's team was in charge of stopping the Flame Devil. Although they did not catch the Flame Devil, they caught the solipsistic. This news was even more sensational than catching the Flame Devil. What Sky General Gu Fei caught the solipsistic? That's impossible. Hasn't that guy been on the run for a year? It's probably too hard to survive outside, so he could only come back. This is a great achievement. Sky General Gu Fei has hope of becoming a great Sky General. Due to the fact that Lone Tyrant had committed a heinous crime against his own clan, and that he had not been captured even after escaping for nearly a year, Lu Chen was given special treatment as a VIP. He was directly sent to the Immortal Army Alliance's main prison. To prevent the previous incident from happening again, Lu Chen was locked up in a single cell with someone watching over him. The news of the solipsistic's capture quickly spread to the rear. 3 days later, the Immortal Army Alliance's United Front Department would sentence Lu Chen. The sect masters of the Extreme Immortal Sect, the Sunset Sect, the Immortal Sword Sect, and the great heavenly generals who were still fighting at the front lines all rushed back. There was still one day before the trial. In the prison, Lu Chen leaned against the wall and hummed a tune in boredom. The prison door was suddenly pushed open by someone. Lu Chen took a look and saw that it was the great heavenly general, Yuan Zheng of the Four Seas. He carried a basket in his hand and walked in with a smile. The jailer brought over a small square table and 2 small stools. Great heavenly general, I'll take my leave first. Four Seas Expedition nodded. Go ahead. After the jailer left, Four Seas Expedition looked at Lu Chen and couldn't help but laugh. Kid, you seem to be in a good mood even though you're about to die. Lu Chen smiled. It's no use being in a bad mood. I might as well be happy. You, cut it out. I don't think you're ready to die. Four Seas Expedition said with a smile. He took out some good wine and dishes from the basket and placed them on the small wooden table. Want a drink or two? You're here to help me improve my food? That's great. The food for the past 2 days is too bad. Four Seas Expedition had no lack of cooking masters under him. The dishes were perfect in color, aroma and taste. They were definitely more delicious than those made by a 5-star chef. The two drank a few cups and Four Seas Expedition said, Little Kwang, you asked your demon friends to spread the news. 2.5 months later, there will be a decisive battle against the extreme Nether Glow. How confident are you? I'm not confident yet. Lu Chen ate a mouthful of meat. Its star annihilation and star rank Buddha physique are a little hard to deal with. Nonsense. Of course it's hard to deal with. Otherwise, no matter how fierce the battle is, all 9 factions would run back to the city as soon as the sun sets. The 9 factions can't do anything to this extreme Nether Glow. Lu Chen smiled. It's a pity that I didn't experience the star annihilation personally. Otherwise, I might be able to tell you how confident I am. Four Seas Expedition shook his head. You're still too impulsive. Can't you be a little more confident before going? Lu Chen said helplessly. There's no other way. I've been poisoned by its venom. I have to fight with it a year later. Lu Chen roughly explained the process of being poisoned by the venom, which made Yuan Zheng tremble in fear. Speaking of which, I was poisoned to save the flame demon. Will the great celestial general resent me? Lu Chen suddenly asked. Four Seas Expedition laughed loudly. What a joke. Do you think I'm such a petty person? The flame demon is a talent. Back then he also tried to assassinate me for the demon race. We both serve different masters, so there's no need to resent me. But little Kwang, have you thought it through after coming back this time? As long as you're willing to join my immortal army, I'll protect you even if I have to sacrifice my life. Lu Chen smiled slightly. Great Celestial General Yuan Zheng, I heard that you were the one who protected my fellow Earthlings from being targeted by the half-beastman Celestial General. I respect you for that. After drinking a cup, Lu Chen wiped the corner of his mouth. But I didn't want to join the Immortal Army back then, and I won't join now. But if you insist on not joining the Immortal Army, how are you going to clear your name of betraying the demon race? Lu Chen snorted coldly. I'm innocent to begin with. How can I clear my name? I came back this time to tell the so-called bigwigs that they have no right to influence my choice. Great Celestial General Yuan Zheng, I hope you can remain neutral when the time comes. I don't want us to meet on the battlefield. Four Seas Expedition sighed. Back then, I had hoped to recruit you. Unfortunately, I still underestimated you. You brat, you're not born to be led by others. If I really recruited you, I'm afraid I would have to clean up your ass every day. Fine. Tomorrow, I'll remain neutral. As for whether you can turn the situation around, it'll depend on your own ability. Let's get drunk today. Come, let's drink a few more cups. Four Seas Expedition was a straightforward person. Without his identity as the Great Celestial General, Lu Chen got along quite well with him. When the prison guards heard the hearty laughter coming from the cell, they looked at each other in dismay. No way, the Great Celestial General has such a good relationship with Solipsistic? Luckily, I treated him quite well before. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be able to survive in the future. That guy isn't here to stay in prison. He's always humming a tune as if he's here for a vacation. The great celestial general even personally delivers food and drinks. What kind of treatment is this? Haven't you heard? The great celestial general Yuan Zheng really wants that guy to be his successor. I didn't believe it at first, but looking at it now, it's really possible. The great celestial general didn't leave the cell until late at night. At the same time, a logistics team made up entirely of Earthlings was rushing to build an open-air execution platform. Move faster. Do you need me to whip you before you know how to work? A green-skinned half-beast man waved the whip in his hand. When the group of people saw that man raise the whip, they hurriedly moved faster. That guy definitely wasn't joking. Several people had already been injured by him before. What was even more detestable was that they couldn't rest after being injured. They were simply treated like slaves. No one told them what the execution platform was for. These days, they were required to work day and night to ensure that the execution platform was completed by the next day. These super experts, who had been selected from Earth, were forcibly incorporated into the half-beast immortal army. They specialized in these physical tasks. They didn't have any military achievements, nor did they have any dignity. In the crowd, a girl wiped the sweat off her forehead. There were still traces of the whip on her arm, which had already injured her body. However, she didn't have any way to obtain resources and couldn't exchange them for pills. Could this be the fourth heaven? Brother, no matter how dangerous this place is, I'll find you. Chapter 686. The next morning, Lu Yi and the others finally finished building the execution platform. They dragged their tired bodies to the battle pit area to rest. This was the headquarters of the Army of Immortals. Naturally, they wouldn't be given a special room. This time, the higher-ups didn't give them more tasks. They were only told to rest for 2 hours, and then gather at the execution platform to watch the execution. If Lu Chen were here, he would definitely see many familiar faces. Carefree Wind from ESD, Stardust from Wild Waves, Lin Sun from TT, Wild Waves, Iron Blood, and even Lu Yi were here. At this moment, Carefree Wind couldn't help but sigh. It wasn't easy to climb to the 4th level. I wanted to develop in the sect, but I ended up being captured and exiled. Stardust also sighed. It's fine to be exiled. It's just a war. But the higher-ups want us to be coolies, slaves that are worse than pigs and dogs. Hey, why do you think the higher-ups are in such a hurry to build the execution platform? Isn't there a special place for executions here? Anyway, that beast Heavenly General wants to mess with us because of the mad god. If it weren't for someone protecting us, we would have been dead. Maybe he's just unhappy that we're idle. When will these days end? I have a mansion and a luxury car offline, but I'm here in Jiotian as a slave. I'm really sick. Come on. What's money? Attributes are the most important thing. We have a mission on our shoulders. Everyone hold on. No matter what, we have to get through it, so that we can bring more people up in the future. After working hard for several days, 2 hours of rest passed in the blink of an eye. Immediately, an orc sergeant came over with a whip and asked everyone to form a team and go to the square where the execution platform was located. Brace yourselves. Whoever dares to blink will be dealt with according to military law. These people could only stand up and follow the team out of the battle pit area. Lu Chen's sentencing was arranged in a huge square. It was said that this place was originally used to compete for military ranks. The surrounding auditorium was full of people. On the rostrum, the 4 heavenly generals were all present, as were the officials of the Army of Immortals. Such a scene would probably only appear during the election of the great heavenly general. However, a temporary platform was built in the arena, which meant that it wasn't the election of the great heavenly general this time. When Lu Chen appeared at the entrance, all the Earth players were stunned. Lu Yi's eyes widened. She never dreamed that the criminal they caught this time was actually her brother. In other words, the execution platform they built with their own hands was prepared for Lu Chen. The higher-ups deliberately didn't tell them the truth and wanted them to watch as Solipsistic was tortured. Their intentions were so sinister that it made their hair stand on end. Their commanding officer looked at these emotional people with a faint smile. Do you understand now? The execution platform that you built overnight was prepared for your compatriots. During the execution, all of you open your eyes wide. If anyone dares to blink, I'll gouge out your eyes. Men move their heads. No one is allowed to blink at me. Bastard, you bastard. You want us to build the execution platform with our own hands? You are too despicable. Resist. Don't forget, if it wasn't for someone protecting you, you would have died in the fourth heaven. We don't have an excuse to kill you, the half-beast man said sarcastically. I heard that trash like you are the hope of Earth. Very good, if you die, won't Earth suffer a great loss? This guy had grasped the weakness of this group of people with just one sentence. They came to the fourth heaven because of the combined efforts of all the players on Earth. If they died, the attribute elixirs that those people desperately exchanged for would all go down the drain. The guide plan would be set back by at least 3 to 4 years. No one had the right to let the efforts of billions of people go down the drain because of personal feelings. You bastard. Stardust's eyes were red. He looked at the man walking up the execution platform from afar and wanted to shout, but he forcefully held it in. They were the hope of Earth, they couldn't die. However, the president was there. In the audience, Yinran, Gufei, Dongfangji, and Moran stared at the execution platform. They actually built the execution platform in advance. This means that they have already decided to convict Mad God. I'm guessing that only the Four Seas Expedition Great Heavens will oppose Brother Du Quang's crime. However, ever since the Four Seas Expedition Great Heavens was injured, his prestige has been greatly reduced. The Nine Heavens are a place where the strong are respected. That's right. Moreover, the human race has the lowest status among all the races. Everyone, prepare yourselves. If Brother Du Quang wants to make a move, we must support him in time. Gui Yinran nodded. Back then we lived and died together in Azura world. It's the same after we came out. I originally wanted to promote him and exonerate him in the future. Who knew that this guy would come back so soon? If he wants to fight, then let's fight. We will advance and retreat together. Lu Chen didn't seem to notice what was happening in a certain corner. There were simply too many people around him. On the opposite platform, Four Seas Expedition looked at Lu Chen from afar with a worried expression. Little Quang, I'm sorry. Today, I'm afraid that I won't be able to stand on the neutral side. I only hope that you can defeat Extreme E Netherglow and continue on with my hopes. Four Seas Expedition muttered. Standing beside Four Seas Expedition were the Elf race's Great Heaven General, the Dwarf race's Great Heaven General, and the Beastman Great Heaven General Mantion. When Mantion saw Lu Chen being pushed onto the execution platform, the corner of his mouth rose. Solipsistic, let's see if you can still be so arrogant. Just as Lu Chen walked onto the execution platform, someone immediately activated the defensive array around him. Then the others retreated, leaving only Lu Chen standing in the center of the platform, waiting for his trial. The Alliance United Front Council official was dressed in a black robe. It seemed like he had specially prepared it for today's trial. He took a step forward and said in a clear voice, Solipsistic, do you admit your crimes? Lu Chen slightly raised his chin. I'm not guilty. Not guilty. You still don't know what crimes you have committed. You publicly rejected the invitation of the Immortal Army's 8 divisions. Not joining the Immortal Army is one of your crimes. You assisted a demon criminal to escape, your second crime. You colluded with the demon race and sold information about the human race, your third crime. Lu Chen knew about the first 2 crimes, but this last crime, as soon as he heard it, was made up by their own imagination. Lu Chen slightly smiled, then stopped smiling and questioned sternly, what a joke. First, since you said it was an invitation, as far as I know, anyone has the right to refuse an invitation. I refused the invitation of the 8 tribes, so it's my crime? Do you think that the 4 heavens is your Immortal Army's world, and that going against your wishes is a crime? What a big tone. Second, I assisted a demon criminal to escape? Do you have evidence? Did I provide him with a pick, or did I help him open his shackles? It was the flame demon who opened his shackles and dug a hole to escape. You don't investigate the negligence of the guards, but instead accuse me, saying that I helped him escape? Are your brains flooded with water? Or do you only have this much IQ? Third, I colluded with the demon race and sold information about the human race? May I ask? I'm not even a member of the immortal army. What important information would I know? Or is it that your army's secrets are usually spread everywhere, and everyone knows about it? So as a civilian, I should know a lot of important information? What a good human immortal army. Not only are you arrogant and despotic, you also know how to fabricate facts. You really have the spirit of those who submit to me prosper, and those who oppose me perish. The judge was so reprimanded by Lu Chen that he could not say a word for a long time. Hearing this, 4C's expedition could not help but cover his mouth and laugh. This kid, what a sharp tongue. It seems that it won't be so easy to convict him. Chapter 687. Great Celestial General Man Tian took a step forward and sternly shouted, "Solipsistic man, your ability to invert right and wrong is truly formidable. As everyone knows, within the fourth celestial layer, all the sects serve the immortal army. Without us at the front lines, where would you find a place to settle down? As a disciple of the immortal apex sect, you openly disobeyed the recruitment of the immortal army. I would like to know if this is your intention, or if the immortal apex sect thinks that its wings are strong enough to resist the immortal army of the other camps. You shared a cell with the flame demon, and gave him your food to help him recover his strength. You clearly knew that he was the culprit who injured the great celestial general of the 4C's expedition. When he escaped, not only did you not report it, you even escaped with him. If this isn't collusion with the other races, then what is? According to what I know, you risked your life to save the flame demon, the culprit who injured the great celestial general of the human race. Not only did you not kill him, you even wanted to save him. If this isn't treason, then what is? Lu Chen coldly snorted. Great Celestial General, this label is really firm. Are you using the Immortal Apex sect to pressure me? The Immortal Army's contribution to the human race's territory cannot go unnoticed. However, you are mistaken about one thing. The Immortal Army does not belong to you alone. The Immortal Army consists of millions of immortal soldiers. Where do these immortal soldiers come from? They come from all the great sects. The Immortal Apex sect is unable to resist the enemy with its own strength. However, it is because of sects like the Immortal Apex sect that the Immortal Army is supported. However, now that some people have become generals of the Immortal Army, they feel that they are a cut above the rest. If an ordinary person says no, they will be thrown into prison to await execution. I want to ask you, who gave them this right? Great Celestial General, you. The flame demon escaped. I am a death row prisoner, and you want me to report it? The next day, I will be executed. Why didn't I run? Must I become an animal that you can slaughter before you feel that I am not treason? After saying this, Lu Chen suddenly changed the topic. Actually, the reason why I said so much to you is not to prove that I am not guilty. If you want to convict me, I will not worry about the pretext. If you want to convict me, I will not be able to defend myself. So you're admitting your guilt. Man Tian narrowed his eyes, not knowing what Lu Chen was planning. Lu Chen smiled. It doesn't matter. All right, since you've already confessed. Wait. Lu Chen suddenly interrupted Man Tian. You didn't understand what I meant. In your eyes, the rules are set by you, and in your rules, I am guilty. Man Tian coldly snorted. It seems that you are a sensible person. No matter how glib your words are, you will not be able to escape punishment. Lu Chen smiled faintly and said, Actually, there is a simpler way. If I kill the person who made the rules, then I am not guilty. The crowd was in an uproar. Fuck, what kind of method is this? What he means is, he wants to rebel. Killing the person who made the rules. Does he want to face an army of thousands by himself? With a click, Lu Chen's handcuffs and shackles were all unlocked. Actually, he could unlock them even without the key, as he had Harry Ball. Standing alone on the execution platform, Lu Chen slowly pulled out the limitless fiend god sword. With the sword in hand, Lu Chen proudly stood in the center of the execution platform and looked around. Jiutian is a place where strength is respected, and I have never liked to use force to suppress others. However, since you all like to use force, then I will make an exception today. Now let me ask, who thinks that I am guilty? Lu Chen's gaze was filled with shock. I heard that he was very arrogant before, but I didn't think so. But now this guy is too arrogant. A mere human is simply too arrogant. He actually wants to challenge the entire immortal army. The 4 heavenly generals are still here. There are still so many mid-heavenly generals and junior heavenly generals. There is also an immortal army outside the headquarters. He is not arrogant, he is crazy. When they saw the person on the stage holding the sword, Lu Yi and the others couldn't help but gasp. President, is he crazy? No, this is the mad god we know, the solipsistic. Even at the 4th heaven, he still dares to use his own strength to fight the king of strength. Immediately report to the headquarters on Earth. Lu Yi stared blankly at her brother on the stage. When they were young, they depended on each other. Her brother did not bow to fate, and now in the Jiutian, he did not bow to the immortal army. He was such a person. That stubborn and persistent person was her brother. In the stands, Zhenghua Yinran's chest heaved violently. Her fate with Lu Chen originated from a battle between battle pets. And then she saw Lu Chen as the goal she wanted to surpass. Now, she had finally caught up to Lu Chen and reached the 4th heaven with him. She was a junior heavenly general, and Lu Chen was just a commoner. It seemed that she had surpassed Lu Chen in terms of status, but it was only now that she truly understood. The gap between that man and her didn't shrink, but instead it grew bigger. Her feelings for him had also changed from pure dissatisfaction to something strange. That kind of indomitable spirit, who dared to go against the heavens, had already made her, who was proud and arrogant, short of breath, and her heart beat wildly. Solipsistic, you are not allowed to die. Nan Tian took a deep breath and said, Lone tyrant, I, Nan Tian, am not worthy of being called old brother Nan Tian by you. For my extreme immortal sect to have such a loyal and righteous disciple like you, it is our great fortune. The corner of 4C's expedition's mouth curled up as he muttered to himself. This stinking brat is really too arrogant. But I knew you would do this. This is your character. However, you have to be careful of Man Tian. That guy is the strongest among the 4 heavenly generals. Arrogant to the extreme. Solipsistic, where do you think this place is? How dare you be so impudent? Man Tian coldly snorted as a violent aura erupted from his body. Don't think that just because you managed to escape from Demon Venerable Holy Battle, you can escape from me, Man Tian's hands. Solipsistic, you dare to openly challenge the dignity of the immortal army. Today, I will definitely kill you. Lu Chen's gaze turned cold. You dare to touch my fellow earthlings? I still have to settle this debt with you. Great Heavenly General Man Tian, there is no need for you to personally kill this person. Countless immortal army soldiers jumped down from the stands and surrounded the execution platform. Dozens of mid-heavenly generals and junior heavenly generals jumped onto the execution platform. Solipsistic, a mere human like you dares to be so arrogant here? Today, I will tear you into pieces. Even if you have 3 heads and 6 arms, I want to see how you will stop my million immortal army. Soldiers, listen to my command. Today we will kill this traitor. At this moment, several figures jumped out from the stands. Gufei Yinran, Dongfangji and Moran. The 4 of them surrounded Lu Chen in 4 different directions. They had already taken out their weapons and summoned their battle pets. Beishue Gufei coldly said, If you want to kill Solipsistic, you will have to kill us first. A mere human heavenly general dares to be so rash. Since you are protecting this traitor, you are in cahoots with him. Kill them all. Chapter 688. Lu Chen did not expect that under such circumstances, Gufei and the others would still stand up without hesitation. Perhaps this was what the so-called friends of life and death were like. At the same time, in a corner of the arena, a group of Earth players stood there. These people did not care about their tired bodies and focused on watching the exaggerated battle on the stage. They wanted to rush to the stage to help Lu Chun, but they were too tired now. Everyone was injured, and there were a few half-orc officers watching over them. Behind this group of people, 2 half-orc officers were talking in a low voice. The Great Sky General has given the order to kill them. Kill them? Now. Yes, let Solipsistic go crazy. Then no one will listen to his nonsense. Understood. The 2 of them went behind the Earth players. These people were weak and injured. At this time, they were still watching the battle on the stage with full concentration. Killing them would be easy. Backstab. A half-orc suddenly attacked. However, how could the Hope of Earth not notice it? What are you doing? Xiao Yaofeng shouted. Xiao Yao sword art. Everyone pay attention. They are going to attack. With the disparity in strength in Xiao Yaofeng's sword, he was naturally not the opponent of the assassin. He was directly hit and flew out. Fortunately, this guy's reaction was very fast and avoided his vital parts. Only his body was seriously injured, and there was a long crack on his back. It's a physical attack skill. These guys want to kill us. The others quickly became alert. Your reaction is pretty fast. However, so what if you know about this? You've personally built Lone Tyrant's execution platform, so he'll definitely die there. As for you guys, you'll even become a bargaining chip to drive him into madness. Ha 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 ha. I never thought that trash like you guys would have such high value. Stardust's eyes were wide open. I will fight you. Lu Yi pulled out the wishful long staff. Earth-splitting chasm. Come and check on Xiao Yaofeng's situation. We will take care of this. The battle between the 2 sides was about to start. On the execution stage, Beishue Gufei and the others had already gone all out, and were fighting with the half-orc officers. Thunder Domain. Dongfang Jiotian summon dark clouds. Thunder Jiotian summon heavenly thunder. Boom 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 boom. Thunder rumbled in the sky as dozens of bolts of lightning struck the orc army. The electric charge in the domain caused the lightning to quickly form a chain of lightning that shuttled between the enemies. Black flame breath. The black dragon spat out a ball of raging fire. The black flames rolled and pounced towards the countless enemies. Ink mountains and river sword, poetry and wine discussed the world. Emo Ran waved her sword into the ink, killing her way into the enemy ranks. In the distance, Beishue Gufei's 7 purple star swords transformed into 7 sword shadows. Sword intent rampage. The Beastman heavenly generals naturally wouldn't just stand by and watch these 4 unleash their might. They all activated their domains to keep them in check, and at the same time, they quickly entangled the 4. Child's play. That's all you humans are capable of. Sure enough, you only know how to make up the numbers in the immortal army. 10,000 beasts gallop. Kill me. Titan behemoth, kill black dragon for me. Lu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes. Gufei's group of 4 strength had increased by quite a bit, but it was still very difficult for them to deal with so many people. Amidst the chaotic battle, Lu Chen's gaze swept around and suddenly saw a small-scale battle happening not far away. He actually recognized a few people in the battle. Xing Chen. Lu Chen frowned. He knew that Man Tian had always been thinking of ways to deal with his compatriots, but he didn't expect that Xing Chen and the others would actually be here. Taking a closer look, he saw the figure of a woman. At this moment, she was fighting to the death with 2 orc soldiers. Her reaction was extremely fast, and her attacks were also very fierce. However, there were obvious gaps in her moves, and it seemed like she had suffered some injuries. As soon as he saw this person, Lu Chun was a little uneasy. That woman's back was extremely similar to a person. At this moment, that woman was fighting 1 against 2 and quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. The opponent's moves were all ruthless, killing moves. However, she stood in front of Xiao Yaofeng, not retreating even half a step. Not only was her back similar, but even her character was as stubborn as him. Go to hell, human trash. The opponent attacked several times, sealing off Lu Yi's path of retreat. Both of them used their killing moves. Seeing that she was unable to dodge this attack, she gave up on struggling and turned her head to look at the person on the stage. The only thing she couldn't let go of was her brother. When she turned her head, the two of them looked at each other. Louis shed tears, and Lu Chen's eyes violently surged with green mist. During the battle with Azura, Lu Chen had learned how to control his emotions better, and retracted the green mist after transforming into a devil. However, this time, the anger in his heart had reached its peak. At this moment, all of his anger surged out in a slanted manner. All of the blood in his body flowed to his brain. "You dared to touch my sister, bastard!" Lu Chen roared and instantly entered the 6 transformations of God and Demon. The surrounding air was attacked by a burst of chaotic airflow, and the entire space seemed to have been ignited by his anger. In this life, the one he wanted to protect was Lu Yi. 3 lives of reincarnation. Lu Chen transformed into a devil child and roared at the sky, stabbing his own chest with his sword. After receiving a fatal blow, the chaotic domain of God and Demon was activated. Within the domain, there was a deviation in time. 9 void steps. Stepping into the void, Lu Chen had already shot into the distance at a speed that was too fast for the naked eye to follow. Spiritual space cannon. With a boom, 2 shots from the spiritual space cannon directly hit the 2 half-beasts in front of Lu Yi. Even the spiritual space cannon seemed to have sensed its owner's anger. Both shots were 3 times the critical damage, -3 billion. Although half-beasts had much higher HP than humans, it was impossible for them to reach 3 billion. Under the 2 shots, the 2 half-beasts were directly turned into ashes in the violent spiritual energy explosion. Not even their bones were left. In an instant, Lu Chen was in front of Lu Yi and hugged his sister in his arms. Lu Yi looked at the devil child in surprise. You are brother?" Lu Chen looked at the wounds on Lu Yi's arm with heartache and narrowed his eyes. "Who did this?" "It's the half-beasts." Hearing this name, Lu Chen's killing intent overflowed. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? Ever since we were young, I couldn't bear to touch you, but they actually dared to hit you. Brother, you were running away at that time." Lu Chen was unable to restrain his anger. He helped Lu Yi to the side and raised his head. Only then did he realize that the people here were all from Earth. Those half-beasts actually wanted to take the opportunity to kill his people. "I still wanted to spare your lives, but now it seems that I was too merciful." Lu Chen gritted his teeth and said, "Man Tian, today, even if the gods came, they wouldn't be able to save you. Little fur ball, I'll leave this place to you. Protect them well. As for those half-beasts, you can do whatever you want with them." A little white mouse jumped out. Looking at those muscular half-beasts, it couldn't help but swallow its saliva. Letting little fur ball do whatever he wanted with them was probably the most terrifying punishment. Chapter 689. Fierce Tiger Descends the Mountain. Suppressive Fire. The spiritual god cannon in Lu Chen's hand deformed, and the barrel split into 5. 50 spiritual space cannons were fired at the immortal army in front of the execution platform. The culmination generals were still encircling Gufei, and the others when they were suddenly hit by the spiritual cannons. The spiritual cannons enjoyed melee special effects, and Lu Chen's melee special effects were the split attack. The split attack had an area limitation, and the area of effect was not too big. The effect was almost negligible against huge bosses and exotic beasts, but it was absolutely devastating to these immortal soldiers. A space cannon attack could easily deal 2 or 3 billion damage. Even if the split attack had a damage reduction, it was still enough to kill these immortal soldiers. Boom, 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 boom. A series of dense cannons sounded, and the 50 space cannons exploded in the crowd like howitzers, directly blowing up a group of people. Whether it was ordinary soldiers, young celestial generals, or culmination generals, they all died upon contact. On the rostrum, the 4 celestial generals widened their eyes in shock. What kind of damage is this? Why does the spiritual cannons have such high damage? The spiritual cannons rely on the spiritual energy value to calculate the damage. The average person's spiritual energy is only in the tens of thousands. How can they deal 2 or 3 billion damage with one shot? And this is an area attack spiritual cannons, so the damage should be lower. In the end, not only are there so many cannons, but each of them also has an area attack effect. What level is this skill? Could it be higher than a heaven level skill? Impossible. It's impossible for a level 4 to have such a skill. Logically speaking, a level 4 indeed did not have such a skill. Even if the spiritual space cannon was an advanced heaven level skill, it still did not jump out of the category of a heaven level skill. However, the horror was that the spiritual space cannon was in Lu Chen's hands. The fierce tiger descends the mountain, and the combo attack made the suppressive fire of 5 cannons become 50 cannons. Lu Chen's mini melee special effects made each of the spiritual cannons carry a lot of negative statuses, especially the split attack, which was especially prominent when fighting the immortal army. The immortal soldiers besieging the execution platform were mainly half-beasts, and there were at least tens of thousands of them. They were originally elites selected by their respective sex, but in front of Lu Chen's spiritual energy space cannon, they were no different from mobs. They were instantly killed. All of you die. Lu Chen roared furiously. Spiritual energy storm. Fierce tiger descends the mountain, fire suppression. Boom 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 boom. Another round of attacks blasted the execution platform apart. The corporeal bodies of the soldiers besieging the execution platform were directly blown to smithereens. More than half of the tens of thousands of people, including the young heavenly generals and Zhong heavenly generals, had died. What was shocking was that this was only the second round of solipsistic's attacks. Gu Fei and the others, who had fallen into a bitter battle, suddenly felt the pressure on them decrease sharply. When they looked around, the 4 of them were filled with shock. The surrounding area had been bombarded beyond recognition. Tens of thousands of immortal soldiers, who had been preparing to capture the criminals and reward them for their contributions, had died, and tens of thousands of them had fled to the spectator stands. That guy isn't human. His spiritual energy cannon's attack can reach 4 billion. We'll all die in one shot. Why is he so strong? Isn't spiritual energy cannon a skill that no one wants? Why is he so strong? That guy used his physical body to injure us. He is going for the kill. On the rostrum, 4C's expedition was flabbergasted. That stinking brat's strength increased so quickly? It hasn't even been a year. Heavens, I have been fighting in the 4C's expedition for dozens of years, but I have never seen such a terrifying attack. This guy's battle prowess has already surpassed an army. Man Tian's expression was unsightly. 10 months ago, it was rumored that Solipsistic had fought with the demon race's great celestial general Holy War, Demon Venerable Holy War, and had almost died in battle. If the information was reliable, with so many soldiers expending their energy, he was confident that he could kill this guy. However, from the looks of it, Solipsistic's strength had once again increased by leaps and bounds during this period of time. If 50 shots of spiritual energy cannon hit a person, it would be over 100 billion damage. Even if he was a great celestial general, he would definitely not be able to endure such terrifying damage. Man Tian's breathing was somewhat hurried. He secretly said to his subordinate behind him, "Quickly, inform Battle God to come over. If Battle God doesn't come out, I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with this brat." The subordinate's eyes were filled with astonishment. "Great Celestial General, are you sure you want Battle God to come out? He is our trump card." Man Tian glanced at the battlefield. At this moment, Solipsistic had already walked towards the execution platform. He put away the spiritual god cannon and held the godly demon limitless sword in his hand. He placed a large number of ghost shadow doppelgangers in the crowd. Wherever he passed, ordinary soldiers would not be able to resist. I also didn't expect him to be so strong. Now, it seems that only Battle God can restrain that madman. The subordinate nodded. He turned around and quickly headed towards the teleportation gate. Primal Chaos Domain. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice. He took 9 steps in the air and returned to the execution platform. After taking a few steps, Lu Chen pulled Gu Fei and the other 3 to a place. "You guys go and protect my friends. My younger sister is inside. Leave this place to me. Triple gate. Lu Chen used the triple gate to teleport the four to Lu Yi's side. Furball? Yanran immediately noticed the furball that was eating at this place. That fellow's mouth was full of blood. When the surrounding beastmen saw this fellow, they frantically fled in all directions. Although Furball was a glutton, Boss had told it that its primary mission was to protect Boss's friends. Thus, it didn't chase too far. However, it changed its strategy. Now it would directly bite off the legs of the beastmen. This way, they wouldn't be able to escape. In any case, Boss had said that it could do whatever it wanted with these beastmen. He wouldn't say anything about whether they were cruel or not. Thus, it would eat to its heart's content. After biting off the legs of these beastmen, it would pile them together. Then it would lie in the pile and wantonly eat. Seeing this scene, even Lu Yi and the others were so frightened that their bodies trembled. Is this the president's war pet? So terrifying. Stardust didn't dare to look directly at it. Yanran looked at Lu Yi. This girl's forehead was somewhat similar to Lu Chen's human form. Needless to say, she was Lu Chen's younger sister. Yanran walked over and said, "Don't be afraid. That's Furball. Although it is indeed a little scary, it only listens to solipsistic. With it here, ordinary people wouldn't dare to come close." Gufei also walked over. The battle just now had already left the four of them covered in wounds. Lu Chen had asked them to come over and protect everyone. In the end, when they found out that Furball was here, the four of them understood that solipsistic had asked them to come over and rest. Meeting for the first time, they still had to come over and say hello. "Hello, I am Bei Shui Gufei. Are you that madman's sister?" Lu Yi, Stardust, Xiao Yaofeng and the others were stunned for a moment. "Bei Shui Gufei? You are the #1 genius of the human race, Bei Shui Gufei?" Bei Shui Gufei said embarrassedly. "That's all in the past. Obviously, now you have seen that your brother is much stronger than me. The battle has just started, and we are already no match for him. We couldn't help that madman much." Bei Shui Gufei was also being modest. In fact, it was because of them that Lu Chun had the chance to save Lu Yi and the others. Moreover, it was already quite difficult for the four of them to block the attack for a moment. It should be known that they had only been in the fourth heaven for 2 years. Dongfang Ji pursed his lips. "Gufei, when you compare, please don't bring that guy into the picture. That guy is not human at all." Moran smiled and said to Lu Yi, "Yes, if we don't count your brother, we are actually quite strong." Chapter 690. At first, Gufei and the others were worried about Lu Chen's safety, but when they saw the series of psionic cannons, they realized that they were overthinking. However, the tragic death of tens of thousands of people did not calm Lu Chen's anger. No matter how many realms there were, they could not do anything to Lu Chen in front of the chaotic realm. Solipsistic, a heavenly general of the half-orcs, was furious and roared, "Let me tell you, your people have been killed by my people. That's right, I personally supervised them to build this execution platform, working day and night. Your burial place was built by your people. Isn't it interesting? I even ordered my men to kill them first. What's the use of being strong? You are only one person. Every day, I will find one of your people to whip." Lu Chen, who was in the midst of killing, suddenly stopped, his eyes filled with fog. He had already saved the Earth players. These 2 half-orcs might not know about it yet, but their words had successfully made Lu Chen even angrier. "I'm all ears." Lu Chen grabbed with both hands. The 2 half-orcs did not expect Lu Chen to have such a trick up his sleeve. Caught off guard, the 2 of them were directly grabbed by their throats. Tiger descends the mountain. Fire suppression. Lu Chen threw the 2 to the ground, raised the psionic cannons and fired randomly. Not to mention these 2 half-orcs. Even if it was the desolate god's war soul lying on the ground, it would be blasted into pieces by these hundreds of billions of attacks. When all 50 psionic cannons hit the 2 half-orcs, their forms had completely collapsed. A huge pit hundreds of meters deep appeared on the ground of the arena, which was specially used for the competition. Finally, The two beast men were blasted to the point that not even dregs were left. This is what happens to those who touch my people, Lu Chen said coldly. The immortal soldiers on the side, from the heavenly general to the ordinary soldiers, were scared out of their wits. 50 psionic cannons. This treatment was not something that ordinary people could enjoy. But probably no one wanted to be blasted into dust like this. Previously, the half-orc immortal army was the only half-orc immortal army that was still holding on, and there were only a few hundred of them left. I'm all ears. Lu Chen grabbed the two half-orcs by their throats again. 9 void steps. In a flash, Lu Chen dragged the two half-orc generals and rushed to the rostrum. After landing, the 3,000 body instant slash, the two half-orcs fell in front of Man Tian. Lu Chen slightly raised his chin and looked at the terrified Man Tian. I heard that when I was not here, you made half-orc, he said. He looked. Very well, let's settle all our old grudges, shall we? When Lu Chen stood in front of the 4 great heavenly generals, other than the 4 Seas expedition, the other 3 actually took half a step back at the same time. The 4 great heavenly generals of the immortal army were actually suppressed by Lu Chen's aura alone. Solipsistic, you stop. The nature fairy great heavenly general, with spirit, no longer had the confidence to speak. We can discuss your crime again. Why must you kill us? Yes, after all, we are allies. The dwarf great heavenly general, Firestone Starshine, was unable to look straight into Lu Chen's eyes. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with killing intent. Lu Chen smiled and snorted. Now you want to convict me again? What did you do before? Sorry, you don't have the qualifications to convict me. If you don't want to die, then scram. Only you, Man Tian, must die today. Man Tian swallowed a mouthful of saliva. You don't be too arrogant. Solipsistic, you are not invincible. You picked on half-orc immortal army. I already knew that you were targeting half-orc immortal army. Targeting half-orc immortal army? It's you who don't know what's good for you. Don't think that I don't know what you did behind my back. Today, not only will you die, from now on half-orc immortal army will be removed from the alliance. Man Tian's eyes were filled with shock as he said anxiously, why? What qualifications do you have to decide the matters of the immortal army? Lu Chen snorted. Why? Back then, during the 4 Seas expedition, he was seriously injured and returned to the rear to recuperate. Coincidentally, he met someone who wanted to frame him. Previously, I was still thinking that the great heavenly general being seriously injured was a secret of the immortal army. How did the people in the rear know about it in advance? Until I met Flame Demon. He told me something. Back then, during the 4 Seas expedition, it was a half-orc who told him about it. Thinking about it again, with Beast Buddha's strength, he could have entered the immortal army long ago. However, he chose to stay in the sect, and even targeted 4 Seas expedition. It was not hard to guess that half-orc immortal army was playing tricks in the dark. I killed Beast Buddha and hindered your plan, so you targeted my clansmen. Man Tian opened his eyes wide, and his expression changed. You are slandering me. Do you have evidence? Lu Chen suddenly laughed heartily. When you convicted me, did you use evidence? Since you don't need evidence, why should I? Even if I am wrong, just because you mistreated my clansmen, I will take your life. Seeing Lu Chen walking towards him step by step, Man Tian's breathing became more and more hurried. A solipsistic who was almost at his peak state could already fight evenly with the great heavenly general of the demon race a year ago. A year later, his strength had greatly increased and Man Tian was definitely not his opponent. Why? Why would a monster like you appear in the human race? No, that's not right. You are definitely not from the human race. The human race is trash. Your strength is too strong. You can't be from the human race. Lu Chen sneered. I'm sorry, but you are about to die in the hands of the trash in your mouth. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly sensed a fierce spiritual energy shooting towards him from afar. The speed and ferocity of the spiritual energy were shocking. Descend. Lu Chen hastily used his spiritual energy to descend and flashed into the distance. That spiritual energy missed its target and directly bombarded the spectator seats, causing them to explode. The entire building was easily split into two, as if it was a piece of tofu. With a loud bang, the ground where the spirit force passed was cut open, leaving behind a huge trench after a moment of delay. The chasm was 2 to 3 meters in front of the 4 great heavenly generals. In other words, if Lu Chen had taken another step forward, he would have been split into two. Just a sword chi was already so terrifying. That is, extreme sword intent. Gu Fei's eyes revealed a frightened expression. Gu Fei, Lu Yi, and the others hastily looked towards the source of the spiritual energy. At this moment, a half-beastman wearing a gray robe and a bamboo hat was leisurely walking towards them from several hundred meters away. A sword chi from several hundred meters away actually forced Lu Chen to retreat. This person's strength was absolutely terrifying. No way, it's him. Xian Shui Mulin widened his eyes and looked at Man Tian in disbelief. Half-beastman race's war god. You actually called him over. Man Tian sorted out his emotions. Just a moment ago, he had indeed lost control of himself. However, now that guy had come, there was no problem. Yes, solipsistic strength has indeed exceeded my expectations. However, how can the might of my immortal army be shaken by a single person? Since I said that he must die today, then he must die. The entire battlefield quieted down in an instant. In the distance, the half-beastman race's war god's voice sounded somewhat lazy. Man Tian, you can't even deal with a mere human trash? You, the great heavenly general, are truly regressing. Fine, I've also been bored for a long time. Today, I, the half-beastman race's war god, will meet you, the human race's war god. Chapter 691. Lu Chen looked coldly at the newcomer. His ID was sword-raising. In the past, when he was chatting with Gu Fei and the others, Gu Fei had mentioned ultimate sword intent. The so-called ultimate sword intent was not a special effect. It was a battle state, similar to the state of mind that Lu Chen comprehended during his battle with Azura. In Empyrean, no matter how strong the special effects of the skills were, they still required a person to use them. A person's reaction judgment, when people still thought that Empyrean was a simple online game. These things were called the player's operation. However, as Lu Chen walked step by step to level 4, he gradually understood that these operations were completely different from the traditional sense of relying on hand speed and brain coordination. This was a kind of battle ability. Today's battle was getting closer and closer to a real battle. Then, in a battle, the ability of a real fighter in all aspects would be able to affect the battle power of both sides. To put it simply, the ultimate sword intent separated the various sword controlling skills and combined them to form a more coherent and sharp sword controlling technique. Where the intent was, where the sword finger pointed, where the sword finger reached, there was nothing it could not overcome. Sword raising walked leisurely in front of Lu Chen. The gods of war of the two races stood facing each other. However, sword raising did not have a sword in his hand. It was really unknown how he used that sword energy just now. Sword raising's expression was arrogant as he slightly raised his chin. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You dare to touch my half-beast race. Today, however many half-beasts you kill, I will make as many holes in your body as possible. Lu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes. The pressure this person gave him was even greater than that of the holy battle of the demon lord. This person was not ordinary. You really don't know what's good for you. You humans were originally trash that relied on other races. No matter how we treated you, you should silently endure it. If we didn't agree to let you join the United Immortal Army, would you humans still have a foothold in level 4? In the end, after raising a dog for so many years, you actually dared to have thoughts about its master. You deserve to be punished. Lu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes and coldly snorted. This is why you schemed to pull down the Four Seas expedition from the position of great heavenly general? So what if I am? The Four Seas expedition is indeed good at strategizing, but his personal strength is ultimately too weak, so he is not worthy of the position. Naturally, a stronger person should be qualified for the position of great heavenly general. Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. When Man Tian saw me, he was so scared that he almost peed his pants. In your eyes, he should be qualified for the position of Great Heavenly General? The Immortal Army was originally created to fight against other immortal armies. But in the end, it became a special privilege for you. I think the reason why the Immortal Army is so chaotic is because of people like you. Foul atmosphere? Solipsistic. In the Jiutian, strength was everything. There was no exception. If you have the strength, you should enjoy better treatment. Because of the expedition to the 4 seas, you humans have already enjoyed treatment that does not match your strength, but you are still not satisfied. As for us half-beastmen, we should have at least 2 great heavenly generals in the Immortal Army. Only this is in line with our status as half-beastmen. Qing Jian was equally arrogant. He actually said these words in front of so many people, and even admitted that the ones who framed the expedition to the 4 seas were the half-beastmen. However, at this moment, the other 2 great heavenly generals, and the other great heavenly generals did not dare to question him. Lu Chen looked at the silent generals around him, and couldn't help but find it funny. They could accept the half-beastmen being so arrogant and despotic. They might even have known that Man Tian was aiming for the position of Great Heavenly General. However, with Qing Jian overseeing the half-beastmen, they could only acquiesce to this situation. So it is like this. Lu Chen shook his head and smiled. Very good. Isn't it just strength being respected? Then it will save me a lot of trouble. Now there is only one thing I need to do. Qing Jian looked down at Lu Chen and smiled. That's right. What you need to do is to kill me. Then the half-beastman will be at your disposal. Unfortunately you, the so-called strongest newcomer of the human race, are just an ant in front of me. Lu Chen sneered. Draw your sword. Draw my sword? Ha ha ha. Trash like you are not qualified to see my sword. Solipsistic. I don't mind telling you that you are not even qualified to make me move a step. In the United Immortal Army competition arena, everyone could not help but step back to make room for the 2 experts. Louis looked at her brother nervously. She had not seen her brother fight for a long time. However, the 4th celestial layer was different from the past. The battle here could affect the real world. This was a real life and death battle. Moreover, her brother's opponent was the half-beastman war god, who could cover the sky with one hand. Gu Fei's breathing was rapid. He looked at the battlefield without blinking. As someone who was also good at using the sword, he understood the terror of the ultimate sword intent. Could Solipsistic break it? The people on Earth were so nervous that they could not breathe. This would be a battle they had never seen before. Mad God was an invincible existence on Earth, and he was already a top-notch expert in the human race. However, the cruelty of the 9 heavens was that until now, there were still stronger opponents appearing. In a sense, how far Mad God could go represented how far Earth's players could go in the future. Of course, if Mad God lost this battle, the half-beastmen would regain power, and even gain more power than before. The fate of these people, and the players on Earth, who entered the 4th celestial layer would not be good. This was a battle that concerned the future development of Earth. The battle between the 2 war gods would determine the survival of the 2 races. Sky General Pingyuan whispered to 4 Seas Expedition. Great Sky General, what are the chances of Solipsistic winning? I can't say for sure. I have not seen Solipsistic's strongest ability. However, no matter how strong he is, to win, it will be difficult. 4 Seas Expedition frowned. In the arena, the air seemed to have frozen. Sky Bearing's hands hung down naturally. It was obvious that he was ready to attack at any time. By Lu Chen's side, the limitless sword hung in the air. His eyes stared at every subtle movement of the sword. Any movement could very well be a killing move. Everyone's heartstrings were on the verge of breaking. Suddenly, no one saw Sky Bearing's movements. An invisible air wave had already shot towards Lu Chen. The sword energy was so fast that it was almost impossible to catch it with the naked eye. What a fast sword energy! He doesn't even need to use his sword fingers. He has truly achieved the ultimate sword intent. Gu Fei caught this moment. As a swordsman himself, he was already shocked by Sky Bearing's attack. Not good. There's no way to dodge at this speed. However, Lu Chen also moved at this time. He did not dodge the opponent's attack. Instead, he used the mountain-splitting strength and the triple gate. One was a killing move, while the other was a control move. Under the triple gate's teleportation, the huge shadow of the mountain-splitting strength had completely ignored the concept of space. It jumped around crazily and arrived in front of Sky Bearing in the blink of an eye. Sky Bearing snorted. Using offense as defense? Was this a suicidal way of fighting? Unfortunately, you are still too far away. Sky Bearing sword art, formation breaking. Chapter 692. Countless sword chi turned into a sword shadow and directly blasted towards the afterimage of splitting Hua Mountain. With a loud bang, the two skills collided, and the aftershock caused a huge wave. He actually cancelled out splitting Hua Mountain? Gufei frowned. This god of war had said that he would kill Solipsistic without moving. Now it seemed that he had the ability to do so. Just as Qingjian broke through splitting Hua Mountain, Lu Chen also dodged the sword chi. The sword chi directly swept behind him, and the audience in the distance suffered again. Qingjian looked at Solipsistic, who was standing in front of him again, and narrowed his eyes. So you're not fighting to the death. Your goal just now was to distract me, so that you could avoid my heart-piercing sword. Lu Chen said indifferently. Fight to the death. You think you're worthy? Ultimate sword intent is nothing more than this. 4C's expedition narrowed his eyes. It seemed that Qingjian had displayed extremely terrifying strength in this exchange. His attacks were sharp, and could even break Lu Chen's skills. However, all of this didn't seem to be out of Solipsistic's expectations. On the contrary, he had already calculated all of this. He pretended to fight to the death, but in fact, it was just to let himself easily avoid the sword chi. Experts often saw things differently from ordinary people. Even nature elf Celestial General Magnetite with spirit couldn't help but sigh. This kid is too calm. Any trace of negligence in front of him will become the key to turning the situation around. It's really scary. Dwarf Celestial General Firestone Starshine was still staring at the battle. Even if he did the details to the extreme, I'm afraid it's still not enough to win Qingjian. You and I both know Qingjian's strength very well. He's still toying with Solipsistic. As a god of war, it was an insult to be tricked by others. Qingjian's eyes were filled with killing intent. Solipsistic, you've successfully angered me. Don't think that you can be presumptuous in front of me just because you avoided my sword. Next, I'll play with you properly. Ultimate sword intent, 1000 sword meteor. Suddenly, a large amount of sword chi shot towards Lu Chen from all directions at the same time from various angles. Let's see how you're going to break my ultimate sword intent. Qingjian's eyes widened in anger. I'm going to poke you into a sieve. The extreme sword intent was so fast that it was hard to see it with the naked eye. Lu Chen let out a low shout. Heaven's Eye. The Heaven's Eye on his forehead opened. Together with his evil child face, he looked more like a ghost general. However, the strength of sword intent was that it could change the trajectory of sword chi at will. Even the Heaven's Eye could not give an accurate judgment of the skill. The Heaven's Eye's current use is to distinguish the sword chi itself through the flow of spirit chi, and not to provide an early warning, Beishua Gufei muttered. He had already placed himself in this battle between war gods. No matter which side he represented, such a battle was extremely attractive to a sword maniac like him. Through the Heaven's Eye, Lu Chen could better capture the trajectory of the sword chi. There were at least 1000 sword chi here, moving without any pattern. They were scattered in front and behind, almost sealing off all escape routes in the space. 9 void steps. Lu Chen snorted coldly. He stepped on the void, and a miniature vortex appeared under his feet, disrupting the trajectory of the sword chi. At this moment, Qingjian suddenly raised his sword finger and shouted, "You're still far from being able to play with vortexes in front of me." Shattering void sword. Everyone was shocked. This guy could shatter the void too. It seemed that this guy had come out of the vortex world before. And what he obtained was not a fist technique, but a sword technique. How could the war god of beastmen not have legendary experiences and opportunities. A stream of sword chi shot out directly towards Lu Chen's calf. Shattering the void had the effect of breaking the void. Lu Chen knew better than anyone how powerful it was. However, what everyone didn't expect was that in the face of the shattering void sword that shot over, Lu Chen didn't dodge or evade, and directly shattered the void to meet it. Two super high attack skills from the same root collided in midair. With a loud bang, the sky shook, and the surrounding buildings shook. A huge energy ball appeared in the center of the battlefield. The skills of both sides continued to consume each other. Shattering Void Sword and Shattering Void Sword are essentially the same skill. Both sides cannot suppress each other. After the collision, it depends on whose attack is stronger. 4C's expedition widened his eyes. But Solipsistic actually clashed with Qing Jian. Qing Jian uses sword intent. Unless Solipsistic has absolute confidence in winning, he will be at a disadvantage. The huge energy ball directly exploded in the field. The scene was swept by a violent storm of spiritual energy. The surrounding audience seats were directly destroyed. Boulders rolled and the wind whistled. At this moment, a red shadow flashed and appeared in front of Qing Jian. Fierce Tiger Descends the Mountain. Although Fierce Tiger Descends the Mountain was the most primitive low-level skill, the scary thing was that it was now in the hands of Lu Chen. Facing Solipsistic's Fierce Tiger Descends the Mountain, Qing Jian did not dare to meet it head-on. He quickly used a displacement skill. Instant Sword Shadow. Qing Jian was already 100 meters away in the blink of an eye. Lu Chen actually pounced on empty air. However, Lu Chen did not pursue. He stood in place and looked at Qing Jian with a faint smile. Hey, didn't you say that you wouldn't move? Why are you running faster than a rabbit? At this moment, countless immortal army soldiers, generals, and even the 4 great heavenly generals were already stunned. In the collision of Shattering Void, there was no doubt that Solipsistic had won. Moreover, he still had energy left. The moment the energy ball exploded, he flashed in front of Qing Jian and launched an attack. In other words, Solipsistic had the absolute advantage in the collision of the same skill. At this moment, Qing Jian's face was livid. The words he boasted a few minutes ago were now slapped in the face. Not only did he move, but he also moved more than 100 meters, all along. He said that he was teasing the war god of the human race. However, the truth was that he was led by the nose by the other party in both fights. You used the moment when I used Shattering Void to attack, when my spiritual energy was empty. That was why you forced me to move. Lu Chen laughed. I say, war god of the half-beast race, your fighting skills are ordinary, but your ability to twist words and force logic can really be sealed as a god. What? You mean that I have to wait until you are ready to attack? You and I both used Shattering Void, and our spiritual energy was empty. How can I attack you? But you can only run. You said that humans are trash. Now I want to ask you, how are you better than humans? You can't compare to me in terms of scheming. Shattering Void attacks can't compare to me. And you are suppressed by me in every aspect. Where did you get the confidence to say that humans are trash? Oh, that's right, your skin is thicker than mine. I am ashamed of my inferiority in this aspect. I really don't know how you got the title of war god. So among the half-beast race, a trash like you can be the war god. Then if I go, won't I be war god daddy? The battle between the two war gods had not been decided yet, but Lu Chen's words had already dispelled the resentment in the hearts of many humans. Good, scold him until he bleeds. Stardust slapped Xiao Yaofeng's thigh and said fiercely, Io, Stardust, that's my leg. I'm seriously injured, okay? Xiao Yaofeng howled in grief. Sorry. It's just that watching our president fight was too satisfying. For a moment I got carried away. Sorry. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.